All right, chat. Welcome in. Welcome in. The REMINGTOM pod is live. We're going back in the sports time machine once again tonight, of course, because, we love going back and watching old sports games, but also because I have not seen the Fantastic Four yet, so I have no reactions to the new summer blockbuster movie, the new addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't know what it is yet, but for some reason it just hasn't quite. It's like 95. I'm almost like I feel like every day it's like, is this today? Am I just gonna go see Fantastic Four? Like, do I go see what's going on? But it's like, no, I don't think it's gonna end up. So I don't know if it's just gonna end up just snowballing into a. Eventually we're gonna just be like, oh, tonight's the night we're watching this. It finally hit Disney Plus, but as of right now, we'll see what it is. And I mean, of course, you guys know that we love the Marvel movies here. I think that, not being a comic story stuff does seem like it could be really cool, but I don't know. It feels like, and maybe, and the part that I still haven't totally, I mean, stay tuned, chat, subscribe as we totally, just continue to just go through history here and try to find out the answer to this question. But is it me growing up, or are the Marvel movies just, are they, of course, the quality hasn't been there consistently in the past, but just and not even the magical element of the Marvel movies. Again, we get that, but you go back to a movie and you don't want to just necessarily highlight the couple of good examples and be like, oh, like, why can't we always achieve the greatness? Like, that is also the specialness of those movies, is that somebody was able to get to that level time and time again. But there is, a movie like Winter Soldier or a movie like Ragnarok or something, like, it does feel like, even for just a movie in the genre as well too, it works. It's like, Winter Soldier is just a great action movie, to go back and rewatch, and has all the beats. And it does. And not to say that, I don't know, maybe the problem is with a movie like the Fantastic Four, the superhero genre itself, because again, that's when really superhero movies are the best. So maybe that's what it is, or maybe that's what interests me about the superhero movies, is using the characters to tell the stories in these different genres. I mean, if you would go through our list of favorite Marvel movies, it's just gonna be like, oh yeah, obviously he's just like, okay, what are the coolest action movies, and has the coolest, action sequences and all the different stuff. But still, that when the stories work as a crossover movie in that type of way, it really does hit on a different type of level. And the Fantastic Four, I guess, is still, again, they're all going to be action movies in a type of way. And I guess there's like that family element, I don't know, comedy, I don't, whatever kind of crossover stuff you want to get into. But you kind of just get into that superhero genre, and it's just kind of that vague sort of wonder thing. So again, maybe I need to watch, because I guess I wasn't necessarily like watching too many trailers. I was kind of approaching it like I was gonna see it, like, okay, I don't want to spoil too much of it, and then I was like, okay, I haven't seen it yet, so maybe I just need to go spoil it with or not spoil it, but go dig into the trailer some more, and then get that that anticipation level built up. But I imagine it's gonna do okay at the box office, because again, the Fantastic Four, you would imagine, being the reboot in the MCU for that property, is gonna have a draw anyways. Like the Thunderbolts, it's tough. It is what it is. The box office number wasn't necessarily there for it. I don't even know what the box office number was. I just know that everybody was saying that it wasn't great. But I imagine that the box office number is gonna do good. And all, like, just the little snippet sort of quick stuff I've heard about the movie it has been good. I don't think it's not like, Marvel's dropped another classic, so I don't want to, get too ahead of my, the expectations for, not even having seen it yet. But that's the other part that I've said is, can Marvel drop a classic again in that type of way, and is it going to be in a property like this? Because I think the Thunderbolts did do that pretty well, but I'd have to go back and rewatch and see how because it's not too crazy, like long of a movie as well. It's right about 2 hours, so it could have even maybe probably been an hour 45, honestly. But even still, it's not like a crazy commitment, and it's a bunch of cool scenes. So that's gonna work for a movie in general. It's a really good action movie, and it's got they go to a bunch of cool locations, and the vault's really cool, and it works. But it's not necessarily like an elite action movie the way that a movie like, Winter Soldier, again, if you go, oh, the elite top-notch movies, obviously, again, like we're saying, are going to be difficult to knock down anyways as well too. But and like I was saying, the cast is good, like for getting the hype back into Marvel for not even just the comic book fans, but the movie fans themselves. Like you would imagine that Pedro Pascal would be that guy, but I don't know, maybe this is a test of Pedro Pascal for movie fans in that type of way, because he's definitely a fan in the TV world for sure. And this is going to show, my lack of some of the fandom knowledge here and just TV in general. Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian, right? Hey, yo, it is what it is, chat. We have to ask. We have to be honest. I've seen the Mandalorian and he wears a helmet. So I think that was part of the issue, right? You go to the poster, see, I have to ask. Pedro Pascal. Not the first, the second Pedro that, I guess, of all time. Is this a Pedro rankings here on Wikipedia? Pedro the First of Brazil, 1822. Pedro Pascal. Pedro the Second of Brazil. Wow. So Pedro the Second, not quite Pedro Pascal level, but Pedro the First is. Pedro Martinez. Pedro, Spanish footballer. And then Pedro Sanchez, Prime Minister of Spain since 2018. So, yeah, Pedro Pascal, the TV work here. Let's see what he's got going. Because he did the game show. Hey, yo. The video game show. Yeah, Last of Us, of course. Yeah, and obviously he is the Mandalorian. So, shout out. But in terms of the movies, let's see what the actual movie credits are for our guy, Pedro Pascal. Because the other movie that jumps to mind right away from recent... the one that he has done over the last couple of years is the movie that he did with Nicolas Cage. Of like, okay, just which Pedro Pascal movies do you want to see, like, or on the watch list of would be the most anticipated watch? That would be right up there. He is on the second Equalizer as well too. I imagine that is earlier on in his career, because I think that was the 2018, nearing a decade plus. A triple Frontier. How could I forget? Of course. That's because it's our guy Hunnam, and it's got Oscar Isaac in it. He is, I mean, he's still working even in Equalizer too. I mean, he's the bad guy in that, but it's still, Denzel is carrying that movie in a crazy way. So I guess he hasn't even really done a ton of movies since Triple Frontier, even though Triple Frontier. Well, I guess okay, but it is 2025. 2024, last year was the resurgence of him in the movie scene. 19, Triple Frontier, Wonder Woman, and We Can Be Heroes in 2020. And then, yeah, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and The Bubble, and House Comes with a Bird is his 2022 run. 2023 done just one movie. Is it a short film? A short film, Strange Way of Life. 2023 Spanish Western drama, written and directed by Pedro Almodovar. Stars Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal. Shout out. Is this on Tubi? A short film on Tubi? The two gunslingers reunite after 25 years. Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal. I can't believe that's the vehicle they chose to work together on, but it must be quality. So, 2024, and I guess there's some cameo appearances in here, a voice role. But Gladiator 2, The Uninvited, and Freaky Tales. So I guess it's not, the craziest 2024, but Gladiator 2, obviously, wildly anticipated. And I think The Wild Robot was a pretty successful movie. Did this get some Oscar nominations? So I don't know if that counts as well, too. And then you were seeing the trailers for the movies that he was dropping this year. This Eddington movie just dropped. For sure, that looked good. You have, like we were saying, Fantastic Four. And then Materialists. Did this drop already? Yeah, okay, so this is the one with Chris Evans. Hey, yo. I guess we haven't seen this one yet. But I don't know, Chad. They just don't make a movie like this like they used to. So it's like, do I just watch, do we watch the newer version? Or we just go back to the 80s and just pick something from the 80s and just know that, it's just going to be whatever this is, just actually up to 10. But Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson. It's in 2025, honestly, again, if it's going to be the 2025 version, but casting-wise, this is pretty good for a cast. I will say, Pedro Pascal, and I guess I've only seen a couple of trailers for this, so, I don't know, Pedro Pascal in like a Michael Douglas or, Willem Dafoe type role in this type of movie. I just, is he that type of actor, or going a different type of way? This has got two pretty stud actors in this, in this movie. I was thinking, do we have a Michael Douglas type actor right now that is kind of, still has the charm in the game, but a little unorthodox? Maybe when he walks in the room, if he did walk into the room again next to like a Chris Evans, you wouldn't be like, okay, Michael Douglas is the first guy you're going to notice. But as the night goes on, like, Michael Douglas has been making moves throughout the room. Like, where'd Michael Douglas go? Oh, he left with the, So I don't know if we have a guy that would be in a bunch of those type of movies, or maybe they're on the rise as well too. But or wait a second, was I listening to something where they said Oscar Isaac maybe was sort of a Michael Douglas-y type comp? That's not bad as well too. But yeah, Fantastic Four, and then I guess a Mandalorian movie as well. Favreau in Avengers Doomsday as, of course, Reed Richards, which you imagine that movie's going to be. You hope there's going to be some at least number. They're going to make some money back with that movie, I think, right? I mean, I imagine I'll go see that one. I feel like I just have to see that one at that point. I'm almost like, we must be just brainwashed to just go see the Avengers team-up movies. So we just wondered, in this movie, Weapons, that is about to drop about the kids that just leave the class, they're going to see Avengers Doomsday. It is what it is. They're like, it's not good. The Rotten Tomato score is bad, but they've all been hypnotized, and they're just wandering into the theaters to go see Avengers Doomsday. It's going to do a couple $1 million. But maybe not. Who knows? I'm just saying. But this is a good, I guess, like we're saying, just in general, his chance at really capturing that number one sort of movie star role. And this is, of course, the debate that we have now with sort of the where IP plays a role, not just in, the movie making, you get the money from the bigger projects, and then, you make the other projects off what you did from the Marvel projects, or however that stuff works. But also in the role of actually just making movie stars in general, too. Because, I mean, you just wonder what it did for, a movie like Sinners to have a cast that was, well known in a way like that, had some big heavy hitters, and obviously not every member, like, Delroy Lindo wasn't, a name based on his Marvel work, his work in the MCU, that's for sure. And a guy like Michael B as well too. It's not just the role in Black Panther as Killmonger. Him and Coogler, of course, are teammates throughout the career, so they have a history together. But, I mean, that was just a big role, and Creed as well, too, as a box office role, but even going further with Black Panther as just being like, okay, Michael B. Jordan's just hitting superstardom at that level. And, even Steinfeld as well, too, like, she was in that Marvel show, so I don't know if we actually saw, like, there was articles for that Hawkeye show that was like, this is the lowest rated show in the history of Disney Plus. Nobody actually ever watched the show. There's negative views. But I imagine that, and again, she's been in some big properties too. Like, was she in like a Transformers movie or something, like a Bumblebee movie? So, and just as a pop star and stuff as well too. Like, she's had massive success. But now that the sort of post MCU, or I guess not necessarily now that the guys are out of the MCU, but now that they are out of the MCU, they haven't necessarily carried the same movie stardom in the same type of way. I think RDJ has, obviously. Can we see what some Downey projects are? And Downey is, an interesting one just because of where his superstardom, the up and down, pattern of that throughout his career. But he's one of those guys that even maybe without the, Iron Man obviously was a return role for him and the opportunity he was given, and then again what that franchise became. I mean, I guess he's never going to be that popular with any other movie franchise, but he could have definitely again built you don't want to just start throwing out like a Pacino, De Niro type name, but he could have built, I think, a traditional movie star career around just sort of single type movies. Maybe he was doing, he did like the Sherlock trilogy, So maybe there's like another sort of action franchise trilogy type thing that he gets into, but he definitely could have had that type of path as well. So, Pedro Pascal is definitely doing that a little bit. Pause. But and Downey did a little bit of the TV as well too, with the HBO show. But he's got All Star Weekend. So that's the Jamie Foxx written directed movie, and then Play Dirty, executive producer only. Okay, so he's not even acting in this one. Written and directed by Shane Black. So he's reuniting with the Iron Man guy. Yeah, Shane Black, the Iron Man guy. But they work together in Iron Man. I'm sure they work together elsewhere too. But me recalling the whole history is not gonna happen. Stars Mark Wahlberg and Lakeith Stanfield. Okay, shout out. Of course, our guy Lakeith is there. So I guess we'll be in the theaters watching that. But honestly, after the performance in Sinners, like Michael B, I think is right there for number one movie star that we have. Kind of like if you belt type rankings, he could be the guy right now. And he had the box office poll. I don't know, what else here. Let's check the box office real quick for the rest of the year. Do we have to is Jack Black actually the number one actor that we have working right now, because the Minecraft movie is like the most successful movie that we have? But for the highest grossing films, Minecraft movie's number 3. Lilo and Stitch, Jurassic World, I guess ScarJo. Yeah, maybe ScarJo. Not even maybe. I think she is she all time the highest grossing actor of all time? So, Shay, shout out Colin Jost, man. Hey, yo. I don't know, the weekend update paychecks are keeping up, but regardless, it doesn't matter. So I guess, and ScarJo, again, she's got ScarJo can literally play in any movie. Like, she proved that she could do an action role with the Marvel stuff, and she carried her own film as well too. Black Widow is a good. Maybe this is where the MCU is going with this run of the MCU, where they were dropping hits in the first couple of phases, and now they're dropping these sort of post, whatever you call them, classics. I don't even know what you call them now as well too, because the cable streaming thing is, it's just like, okay, it just is going to go on streaming, and maybe it doesn't actually have, how do you have a proof that it becomes a second life? I guess, again, you have like the top 10s and stuff like that, so there could be resurgences and things like that. But just in terms of the fans, I think there is a little, after they get released, a little bit of a, the pressure's off, of course, on the movie, and you go back to it like, yeah, this is kind of fun, for sure. So, you get the people that really enjoy, like we're saying, the characters and the comic world and all that different stuff. It is good, but like the Black Widow is just a really good action movie, and Doctor Strange is like a fun action thrillery horror type movie. I think when you're actually talking action thriller, now it's like, okay, MCU, it's gonna be a little bit tame, but it works for what it's going for as well too. And we've always defended Shang-Chi on this pod, so there's some solid pause, some solid movies there in the first couple that they dropped. But again, we're not saying that they're at the level of the OG ones. But and Mission, so yeah, Tom Cruise. I guess Cruise as well, for sure. Cruise definitely has the history, of course, and the legacy of being the top guy. But if we're casting a movie in 2026, I don't know if I'm getting into really hot take territory here, but again, we're just talking what we've seen with the last couple of years. Like, has Michael B. Jordan not the last decade have had a better filmography, a more diverse filmography than Tom Cruise? I don't know, Mission Impossible movies versus the Creed franchise and Killmonger, but again, Fruitvale Station, and now with Cruise has never had, of course, am I not recalling a movie in the Cruise discography? But maybe Cruise has played multiple kind of personalities within a movie, just changing up his vibe throughout a role in a movie, but he's never had the two-person on screen playing the two different personalities, being that convincing both ways type of role as well too, and never played in that type of movie. But if we're casting a movie for 2026, it might be I think it's got to be Michael B over Tom Cruise. If you don't even know what the script is, but you're okay, you just have to have the cast. I don't know if Michael B is the number one pick as well too. Somebody gonna swoop in and say Chalamet at this point because he is in the conversation. I mean, Brad F1 at number 7, like Brad Pitt's not out of the conversation as well too. And this is another one I should have seen and haven't seen yet either. But I think he is, hot takes. He's the lead here, right? Like, I think Damson Idris is more supporting in this movie than more so, like, kind of co-star type thing from what I heard about people talking about the movie anyways. But, and, Damson Idris is another one as well, too, where he could definitely, he's definitely next up to be awesome movie star. But again, he just hasn't had the lead movie performance in the way that Michael B has had. He's been awesome in the TV shows and awesome in the roles that he's had. But just hasn't quite had that carrying the film success the same type of way. So maybe Corn Sweat? Am I getting the name right for our guy Superman? Yeah, Corn Sweat? Corn Sweat. David Corn Sweat. Is Corn Sweat better? I don't know, but David Corn Sweat. So maybe Corn Sweat is like fast tracked there as well too. Like I know, again, a guy like Chalamet, you're like, oh, but he played Bob Dylan, like he's got to be up there, but. And Dune as well too was a major movie, and he was definitely if not the star of that. I don't know. Dune's kind of confusing. Who's even the star of Dune at this point? I don't even know. Chalamet is just the guy that kind of, his stock was up after that movie for sure. So we can't forget about Chalamet, and Mac. I guess Captain America's still in the top 10. Shout out! People were like, oh, this movie bombed, and I guess I don't know what the budget for this movie was. As well too, probably too much. 180 and a 415 box office. I mean, I think it got there, Chad. I don't know. Are we getting some fake news on Captain America: Brave New World? It looked like it did get it wasn't necessarily pulling 800 million, but I don't know if you can necessarily call it a commercial failure if it's in the top 10 movies for the first half of the year that have been released. So again, I don't even know if it's being labeled a commercial failure. I know Thunderbolt's definitely. Not great. So maybe that one's even up a little bit, but maybe the budget for that one was higher, as well too. But again, I think it just as well too. If we were just talking actors in general across the scope of movies and TV, then Pedro Pascal, like we're going back to Pedro Pascal, would definitely be, of course, in the conversation as well too. But here, let's see. I don't even want to search Fantastic Four. Just because, I don't want to spoil it for anybody else that has seen it as well, too. Some article's going to be like, oh, Vanessa Kirby dies twice in this movie. It's like, hey, what's going on? And imagine they just, if Vanessa Kirby, if she dies once in this movie, I'll be heartbroken. If honestly, even if the movie is subpar, if the movie is mid, just Vanessa Kirby in the MCU is just, I think it's worth whatever the Fantastic Four movie is at this point. It is what it is. But wait, why are we getting Sound of Music in here? And addition to several films. Oh, all celebrated anniversaries. Okay, I was like, wait a second. Sound of Music? Like we're remaking Sound of Music and Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I was like, man, we're really just going crazy in 2025. What's happening here? We're remaking Toy Story 5, 6, 7? I think it might be on the slate already at this point. But, even a guy like Hanks, of course, has... like Toy Story is kind of the thing that he does at this point. So, the movie star rankings, just the fact that, it's a good debate, but it's not quite the debate the way that it was back in, even up until the 90s. I don't know when necessarily it would have started to turn a little bit. I guess people probably would blame the MCU. But like we're saying, I think Downey gets there anyways. I guess the thing is, like we're saying, the opportunities that maybe are awarded to him as he's... kind of in the recovery phase as well too, and then franchises are always gonna help, regardless if they're the big IP franchise. Like with Keanu, I mean, again, his big, he's got the one-off films that are great with Point Break, but he's also got the Matrix franchise and John Wick, which will make him as popular as he's ever had, and the popularity amongst the generations have been mainly from those things. It's like, oh, the 90s guys love him, again, from the fun movies, but it's like, oh, the Matrix. And now the people from modern day love him. He doesn't really have the Point Break in modern times to go with the John Wick performances. But it's like, oh, Keanu's iconic because of the John Wick for, a different stuff. And John Wick, I think, is in Fortnite too. So, that's always going to help transcend with the generations. But yeah, I think if Tom Cruise is arguably the number one movie star, then it's got to be Michael B. Jordan. Again, with all due respect to Tom Cruise, I think it's time to pass the torch. I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm not saying that if we're doing the legacy rankings, Michael B. Jordan's a better all-time actor than Tom Cruise. Hey, like I know how to make the list to some degree in that regards. But the current 2025, 2026, who do you need in a movie? Even an action movie. Like I'm taking Michael B in an action movie over Tom Cruise at this point. He's proven he can do the stunts. I think even you look at a role like Without Remorse, and you think, okay, if he's bringing that type of, again, he's done the tactical stuff before as well too. But you can see, and again with Sinners, that's a fun thing about the ending scene is you get to see him have a solo fight in that type of way. But even that, of course, is still limited to sort of the technology of the time that is set in. So you think, modern day, if it was a Mission Impossible, I mean, if it's Mission Impossible, whatever, I don't even know. I haven't seen the last couple Mission Impossible movies. Hey, it is what it is. But if they make another one and Michael B. Jordan's the villain, or if he is the new good guy, see, that is interesting, I guess. If Michael B. Jordan is the villain in a Mission Impossible movie, see, the thing is, he's playing in Cruise's franchise at that point. So it's like, okay, he's going to, it's like, is he Kevin Durant on Steph's team? Maybe he wins the finals MVP, but it's still going to be Steph's team. It's still Cruise's franchise. But I think there is that potential. And, we kind of saw that with Cavill as well, too, in the Mission Impossible Fallout, where, I mean, Cruise is really great in that movie. But you're like, oh, Cavill. And Cavill is up, like, the Superman thing as well, too. I mean, that's a real thing. Like, Cavill with Superman and with the Mission Impossible franchise, again, I don't think he's got the stacked filmography outside of those. But those are big level movies, and he's really good in both of those movies. Even if Superman is not necessarily, a hit. And I wasn't necessarily paying attention to Justice League when we did watch. I remember we watched it with our cousin when they dropped. Like, there was like a 4-hour black and white version, and then I was like, wait a second, is this the only version? I think we found that there was the colored and the black and white, and we were like, I guess we just watched the black and white one, but it is what it is. And I don't really know what happened, but I think Cavill's pretty good in that. But he's good in Man of Steel as well too, and he's good in Batman vs Superman, a movie that I'll definitely defend. A movie that the 10-year anniversary is next year. And make no mistake, if we just know anniversaries for Batman vs Superman, that we're probably a fan of that movie. So make no mistake, you may, I don't want to spoil anything for 2026, but just stay tuned, Chad, if you like Batman vs Superman. That's all I'm saying. But Cavill's Cavill's obviously not in the mix, I think, for the number one movie star, but he's a good, second team all movie star, third team all movie star type option for 2026. And maybe he is first team as well. I don't know if he's, maybe the MVP is like where he's kind of not quite in that conversation yet, but he's a pretty major star. Maybe that's sort of projecting out as well too, again, because he doesn't necessarily have a ton of other roles. And he's been gravitating toward a lot of that IP stuff as well too. I guess you don't really see Cavill in like he's not like an A24 guy, but maybe he needs a film like that, honestly. A little bit of a smaller film where it's kind of more focused on him. I don't know. Because again, he is good as kind of like Cruise can take a lot of the, Cruise is really the main character in that movie. Like Cavill's definitely a supporting character. But even in the scenes, Cruise can take a lot of the focus in the scenes from Cavill. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think, is kind of a fun movie. And who else is in that? We got Alicia Vikander. Is she in the Tomb Raider remake? She's in one of those remakes, I think, and she's decent in that. But okay, so I guess again, just a lot of Superman roles as well too. Argyle was kind of a weird movie. I guess I didn't see it, but I just judging by the trailers, I didn't really know what was going on there. I guess Enola Holmes, he kind of goes for, I don't want to say kids movies, but he does gravitate maybe toward the family friendly thing. I don't know if that is him trying to continue to, if because that is a path for building the popularity as well too, where I don't know if we call this the ice cube, but it's like, hey, if I'll go the family friendly route, if I broaden my the scope of people that can watch the movies, then the movies are just gonna be more popular. Or the Adam Sandler as well too. I don't know, however you want to say it, but it's not like I don't think Enola Holmes is the only role available for Cavill out here. Again, we're seeing him in some action movies as well too. Minister of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Guy Ritchie. I was gonna say I think this is a little bit in that more, and I guess it's just personal preference in the movies that we want to see him in. But these are the movies that we're gonna be watching as well too. So again, it is, Cavill. You gotta find your audience in a little bit of ways too. Because I think Cavill, like we're saying, he is loved by everybody that watches him in movies for sure. I mean, come on, it's Henry Cavill, but he is kind of a cool guy type guy. Like he's a cool guy to watch in movies. Guys like watch. I think Henry Cavill is a fun guy in action roles, for sure. So you get him, I guess, as a cameo in Deadpool, in Wolverine as well too. So we got In the Gray, another Guy Ritchie. Whoa, chat. This might be a first team all cool white guy cast right here. We got Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal in the Gray. Hey yo, I don't know. This movie has very, very hit or miss potential. I get it. It's a high swing. Jake Gyllenhaal, he's a little bit of a consistent, I think, B+ in all the movies. But if he gets back into that, old school kind of Jake Gyllenhaal bag, and we see Henry Cavill with like a new and improved performance, and Enola Holmes 3. Hey yo, Chad. These movies must be great. They're making 3 of them, or Netflix just signed up for 3 of them. In general, I don't know exactly what was going on there, but Voltron as well, American superhero film, Voltron. Wait, so is this like a DC, another DC movie? American superhero film. Oh, live action animated show based on that. Wait a second. Do we have pictures of? Wait, did I say live action animated? What is this saying here? Live action adaptation of an animated show. Okay, here we go. I got that, chat. We got it. So this is the show. I guess I'm not necessarily familiar with the Voltron show. Yeah, 80s, chat. Voltron Legendary Defender. Is this on Tubi? Do we need to catch up on Voltron? So again, he's just going for just these, PG-13, PG-rated movies, just all the way, chat. Voltron. King Alfred, I guess wouldn't be a main character then. Can we get a cast for Voltron? Oh, this would be for the film. Oh, Sterling K. Brown. Whoa. Rita Ora, John Harlan Kim, Alba Batista, Samson Kayo. Okay, so maybe some up-and-coming talent here, but Sterling K. Brown and Henry Cavill and Rita Ora. Oh, this is this has got some Amazon big dollars on it, chat. For sure. Amazon spending big money on the Voltron film? Hey, they need to get superheroes somehow, I guess. Is this their attempt to... They saw him... This literally is they saw him in Superman. They're like, we can build a superhero franchise around this guy. But why not build like a... I don't know if he could be Jack Ryan specifically, but there's not a him as a Secret Service guy type show. The Netflix has been trying to launch the Gray Man film franchise with Gosling. Like, Amazon can't do like a Gray Man with Cavill and just have him. Every streaming service can do that, and you know what? All the action fans, we're gonna watch all of those shows because these are the type of things we want to watch. I never, the minute I watch one show, I immediately have to be like, I need to watch more of these type of of these types of sets and maneuvers and action pieces. And I what does HBO have? What does Netflix have? What does Hulu have? What does Amazon have? They just need to get Cavill. Cavill. Rem and Sam might need to start like an agency for these actors to tell just like everybody just we're gonna just reboot the action genre as we just start gravitating all these guys into this role. But even Sterling K. Brown as well too. Like, I'm kind of, hopefully this is good. I guess here, let me look up some. I don't know how popular Voltron. Well, I'm assuming popular enough. Where people are like, how do you not know about Voltron? But what are we looking at here? For stylistically, we don't know exactly, I guess, how it's going to be adapted full on. Oh, chat. Oh, this is crazy. Hey, yo. This is like some Transformer type stuff. So this could be cool if it's maybe a little bit more Edge of Tomorrow, kind of the suits toned down a little bit, but I'm not going to try to, step on the Voltron fans here. It does look like we probably are getting some outer space travel. I mean, there's definitely cool here. Like, I don't know if this is from the show or not. This could just be literally some AI artwork. Oh no, Voltron Defender. Like this. Okay, this sword's kind of cool. Like if Henry Cavill's in a big suit and he's got kind of an electrical sword, I could definitely get down with that. Robots with swords, fighting with swords. You can talk me into this for sure. But this looks a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie. We need something a little more. We need something more down to earth, like James Bond. Chat. We need something a little more realistic, like Mission Impossible. Just give Henry Cavill's own Mission Impossible franchise. But either way, I didn't realize that. I guess I had a lot of Henry Cavill stock, but I feel like he's getting a little underrated, especially now that, again, our guy Corn Sweat, the new Superman, people are like, oh, Corn Sweat's the best Superman of all time. I mean, it really is. This movie is up there. I think it speaks to the quality of Superman movies in the past, because it doesn't feel like it feels like, again, I'm just listening to the conversation, like the OG Supermans are not just classic Superman movies. They're obviously classic movies. Like, this is great for what they were trying to accomplish, the storylines with this character. Like, it was portrayed, and the emotions this stuff is portrayed about as great as you can get. But this is still like a really quality movie, but I don't know if it goes into the same quite, like, is it going to be like a Smithsonian movie, like the way like first couple of Superman movies with Christopher Reeves might have been, with the quality based on that. But Pedro Pascal as well too. The minute Pedro Pascal, people are out on our guy Pedro Pascal, then again he'll be more of our guy at that point. That's what just has to happen. At this point, he's at the peak of his power. So I don't know. Are we currently in Pedro Pascal Apex Mountain? I mean, with the run that he's having with the TV shows and stuff, it'd be pretty difficult not to get over it. And Eddington, again, that's a fun movie choice. Ari Aster, yeah, he's of course a fun new filmmaker for sure. Great cast. Looked like a pretty fun premise. So he's making a good choice there. Again, maybe a little bit back into the movie scene. I guess, like we're saying, we haven't really seen him make a ton of choices. But he's got a ton of roles. But again, it's still a bunch of like little tiny roles, and I guess he's just making weird choices, honestly, with some of the movie stuff. But more grounded, more traditional movies, work with some better filmmakers. And maybe, I mean, you're assuming, I don't know if IMDb will have more stuff listed for like what he's down for 2026, but maybe that's just it with the TV stuff. And with the Marvel Avengers commitment, he's just locked in on that. But you also imagine, is Marvel even like, are they even filming Avengers? What's the process like right now for making these movies? We don't even really know what's going on with their entire phases. So that's even part of it as well, too. As much as this is a Fantastic Four movie, it still is, I think, just going to, not maybe, it's probably not going to be too overly connected to the greater MCU. But you just know that they are trying to correct that in their movies as well too. So again, maybe I'm projecting at this point. You just need to go see it and just get it over with. But I don't even necessarily want them to correct the MCU's messed up at this point with whatever they're doing with the timelines and stuff. We get it. The timeline, Loki's holding the branches, and they got to fight Doomsday somehow. We're not even gonna really get him introduced till Avengers anyway. So I don't really know what we're gonna get set up in these other movies. Maybe Fantastic Four is gonna answer all the questions, but if we could just have a good Fantastic Four movie and it could be based around that, then and maybe it is kind of getting that way as well too. And who was making this movie? Let's see. It doesn't list the director, I guess, initially, but directed by Matt Shakeman. Shout out. Directed episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Okay, Game of Thrones, Fargo. Let's see, from a movie standpoint, Cut Bank in 2014. So this is kind of his, I guess not his first movie. I guess, I don't know, is this a full-length film? I guess we got Liam Hemsworth and Billy Bob Thornton, Bruce Dern, and John Malkovich. So I guess this does count as a real movie. But his first movie in over a decade, Fantastic Four. So it did look cool, for sure. With leaning into some of the Loki TVA type stuff in the trailers that uh, we were seeing. And, the Vanessa Kirby, Pedro Pascal chemistry, unfortunately wasted on this movie. Hey, yo, what do we have to rank the most unfortunate wasted chemistries in a Marvel movie? Like, and maybe Marvel has been sneaky good at casting partners in that type of way, because you think there has been chemistry, and maybe it's just they've always just like, okay, who are the hottest, most charming people at a given time? Let's just make them superheroes. But Downey and Paltrow, obviously, real chemistry on screen. Chris Evans and Haley Atwell, I mean, they definitely had chemistry. Portman and, of course, Thor. Portman's not necessarily in the later stuff the same type of way, but their dynamic in the movies itself is really good and is probably some of the best parts of the first movie anyways. I think if you go back and watch the first Thor movie, at least for me, it's kind of like, it's a little like Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman kind of chemistry type movie in a way. But who else was I thinking of? Oh, Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana. I mean, they're okay. I wouldn't say it's like, electric chemistry on the screen. Is Chris Pratt, I mean, he's definitely, obviously, Chris Pratt's, a good looking guy. He's in Hollywood for sure. But I don't know if he does have, and he made the transformation. He was going for the cool guy thing as well too after the Office stuff. But I don't know if he ever quite crossed over into has quite crossed over into like the crazy electric, chemistry type stuff with an actress. Because he does have that movie with Jennifer Lawrence, and I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is great in that movie. Jennifer Lawrence is gonna be great in any part kind of like that. But you wouldn't say that Chris Pratt's like, holding his own on the other end as like a male counterpart in that sense. Again, he he's holding his own from a look standpoint. He definitely looks the part, but just the charisma, and he's a charismatic, like charming kind of goofy guy. We all know that, but the flip switch is just not quite there. So, I mean, again, Saldana and Pratt are good for a Marvel movie. They're kind of fun, but it's not the Downey Paltrow, like, there's an alternate version of this movie, the AO. But and there was another one as well too that I was thinking of, that I guess R.I.P. our guy Chadwick, for sure. Him and Lupita Nyong'o definitely have chemistry, but their relationship is a little bit more. Oh, I just thought about who it was, Chad. It's more Chris Evans. It's Chris Evans and ScarJo. That's the real chemistry. That might be the number one chemistry. Hey, maybe the list is just Chris Evans had chemistry with all that. It's just Chris Evans and I don't know the actor that played Haley Atwell's niece in Civil War, but whoever plays, and what's her name in the movie as well too. She's not Sharon Carter. I don't even know the names of the car. Oh, yeah, it is Sharon, because Sharon and Peggy is Haley Atwell's character. So, yeah, I mean, Steve, he's got, I guess, as you would expect for it being Peggy's niece, like the chemistry is a little kind of weird between Chris Evans and Sharon Carter, but it's it's okay. It's not too bad. It gets you through the movie, that's for sure. But which I think is probably the point. But then Russo's like, okay, Captain America just got to be laying a kiss on somebody in this movie. I guess, Sharon Carter's close by. But, yeah, I just, ScarJo and Chris Evans in Winter Soldier is probably the most electricity between two actors in an MCU movie to date, outside of maybe like a Robert Downey early reporter scene in one of the Iron Man movies. But other than that, that's it. And I guess maybe now only to be competing with the press tour just had by Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal. So it's the movie chemistry of the on-screen chemistry of Chris Evans and ScarJo and the off-screen chemistry of Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. The interviews have been crazy at this point. A stark difference from Shameik Moore and Haley Steinfeld. I'll say that. A shout out to our guy Shameik Moore. Hopefully he's in, I guess, the MCU at some point as well too, in a live action. Him in live action Spider-Verse. Hey yo, so Shameik Moore, he's got to have some work to do to get high up in those chemistry rankings. I guess it is what it is, but and I guess shout out to our guy Anthony. They never give our guy Anthony Mackie a chance, chat. Hey yo, I'm trying to think. Florence Pugh's not. She's not making eyes at somebody in this last movie. She definitely has a friendship with the villain type character. I forget what his name is in this movie, and he was cool. The Thunderbolts is going to be another underrated one. Let's double check the box office for that. I mean, because if it went positive, and again, I don't understand all of the movie math type stuff. It made 382 over 180. So again, I don't know what you actually need to make back on a movie versus the budget is just, I think, usually one part of the budget, and then there's other factors as well too that of course don't get calculated to that number. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, you imagine they're doing okay on that number. It's not losing money just looking at it. And is that opening or is that just where it sits right now? How much money is it making them on Disney Plus at this point? I guess I don't know if it's kind of dropped on there as well too. And like we were saying, the Rotten Tomato score was back for this one. Who made this one? Jake Schreier. Shout out. So maybe they're, doing a good job of bringing the filmmakers back in that way. Like we said, our Shang-Chi guy, Creighton, is a guy to watch as well too. And, they got the Russos back directing Avengers. But Pedro Pascal, we'll see if he can, I guess, like we're saying, seize the movie star type title. Because I don't know what else is left on the table for that type of thing. I mean, that's where it would be, the surprise type thing as well too. But I think even, Michael B. Jordan, like we're saying, the table, like it was set a little bit for him to have a great performance there. He's had the big blockbuster performances in the big movies, and him and Coogler have had the history together. This movie has anticipation. It was an original film as well. So is is Marlon Wayans in him gonna later this year? Is he gonna be a guy that jumps up the list? We got Denzel in the new Spike Lee movie approaching as well. So maybe Denzel can claim that. But I think even Denzel is moving into a little bit. And at some point it's like, okay, at some point, he's not gonna be obviously Denzel will always be a leading man, but he's not always gonna be cast as a leading man for his entire career. But he is still in that kind of LeBron-esque sort of like 1B. Like he maybe couldn't quite carry a team to a blockbuster. I would say that, but maybe because it would take a franchise as well too. Like, could Denzel carry a new movie, I guess, to like a top 10 movie in 2026? I guess I would not put it past him. I'm thinking, could Denzel could he be Michael B. Jordan in the Sinners role exactly? Like, the young buck that Michael Jordan is in that role. But maybe if there's like an old guy role for him, like Bob Odenkirk and Nobody, but it's Denzel. I guess that's what The Equalizer is. So I don't know if he wins an Oscar for that. But, maybe there is like a dramatic, because Denzel is good of a dramatic actor as well too. So if Denzel gets into that, so I think maybe that's kind of where this Spike thing would go. If he gets into a little more actory, that's where Gladiator was going as well too. He's not fighting in Gladiator. He's going more in the royalty, he's lounging around in that movie and, maybe shuffling around a palace or two as well. But I don't know if you would necessarily say that he's in the conversation for top movie star currently in 2025. Do we have to ask the chat GPT who the biggest movie star is, or do we just let's just Google it real quick? Who is the biggest movie star? And I guess, cancel me now, chat. I just keep leaving out ScarJo for the past hour of this conversation. It is what it is. Rem only names guys in this conversation. Shout out. Okay, next hour, chat. We'll correct ourselves. Who is the biggest movie stars in the world? We got to finish the thought here. Pause. But yeah, so it's still going, Downey off Iron Man. It's still going all the Avengers guys, basically. The Avengers run. Vin Diesel off of Fast and Furious. Bradley Cooper's moving more into a filmmaking role. Samuel Jackson, definitely more of a bit part guy. Cillian Murphy off of Oppenheimer. You got Christopher Nolan here. We got Matt Damon starring in The Odyssey. Damon's still hanging on. He's still trying. If The Odyssey hits, then maybe The Odyssey, or maybe Damon can prove himself back in that tier again. But I don't know if he quite gets up to that level Oh, Leo still? Yeah, Leo probably. And then I guess our guy Chalamet as well too. Like we were saying, but let's see what we got here. Downey just currently number 1, I guess has the belt. Hemsworth in the top 5 at number 5. The Rock, Ryan Reynolds at 6, Morgan Freeman at 7. Shout out. Keanu at 8, Brad Pitt at 9. So yeah, Brad Pitt might be in the top 5 actually right now as well too. Wait, where'd the rest of the list go? Hey yo, wait, load more. Which button do we click, chat? Okay, Adam Sandler, Hiddleston, Chalamet, Gosling. Yeah, Gosling is an interesting one because you would think Gosling, but it's like, has Gosling quite had the playoff runs the last couple of years? Maybe he's had the regular seasons, but I don't know. I mean, La La Land was that a decade ago almost at this point? I guess he's had really. I mean, I guess Barbie. He had Barbie last year, so we can't necessarily be like, oh, where's Gosling been? And I mean, we love The Gray Man, so we got that movie in the rotation. Denzel, 1 spot below Kevin Hart, even in 2025. I don't know if that sounds right, chat. That makes me a little upset. Jack Black, Denzel is right between Kevin Hart and Jack Black in the movie star rankings. I mean, what are we doing? Hey, yo, we got to redo the list. Damon, Tom Hardy. I mean, if the Venom movies were better quality movies, then he would definitely be in that. Has Tom Hardy had an Oscar nom in his career? He would be a guy that maybe he's gotten a supporting or something at some point. I would assume he's had a nomination in here. A BAFTA? Oh, he did receive an Academy Award for The Revenant, Best Supporting in 2016. So he maybe could do a lead and get some notoriety. He's had the industry love his work before. Radcliffe, Arnold, Bale, for sure. Bale's, we gotta have Bale higher up on that list as well too, because he's one of those guys. If he's in a movie, you're gonna naturally kind of want to go see his performance in the movie. And again, he's got the malleability in the performances, but he can not just for the character, again, the physicality and all that different stuff, but the types of movies that he can be in as well too. Or he can be part of an ensemble cast. Like, you don't necessarily know, like with Denzel, again, even peak Denzel, as great as all of his movies are, there is not even a formula to his movies, but you know that Denzel is going to be a lead guy in his movies. He's not really in like ensemble cast type movies, versus Bale can even go a little bit ensemble as well too. You do get, again, eventually Denzel's career, is so crazy that it's just about the I guess I was thinking more like his run from in the 90s, like the early 2000s, before, because you start getting American Gangster is definitely it's a sprawling movie. It's still pretty Denzel focused though. I mean, a lot of the supporting guys, again, you look into Frank Lucas has a lot of gravity in that movie. And Russell Crowe, it's kind of a duo movie. It is like a Russell Crowe versus Denzel movie. So, then he starts to move into a little bit different. Ruffalo, a sleeper for sure. Bradley Cooper, like we're saying. Daniel Craig, Garfield. Andrew Garfield is kind of sneaky up on that list as well too. Everybody loves Andrew Garfield. Shout out. Anthony Hopkins, Bruce Willis, Wahlberg, Cavill, down at 33. Defoe, Joaquin Phoenix can still drive a movie. Pattinson as well too, after just playing the Batman. I think Mickey 17. The problem is Pattinson's non-IP movie choices can just be a little too niche at times. So he's not necessarily keeping up in the B+ tier movies in the notoriety type of way, the same way some other characters might. And then Pedro Pascal is down at 39. I guess this is more of a, I don't know, is this all time? I don't even know what this list is. Again, it's got Downey at 1. It's got Pacino in the 20s. Pacino wouldn't be 20 because he wouldn't be over Pedro Pascal now, but again, he wouldn't be 20 all time. So I don't really know what this list is. Or did I say Pacino, De Niro? Like, Pacino's 37. Again, Pacino's not over Pedro Pascal now. As much as I would like, okay, Pacino in a scene for 5 minutes now, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood style, can we just meet up with Pacino in a restaurant and he just crush a scene? Like, that's obviously great. But again, carrying a movie like I mean, again, Michael B. and Pedro Pascal, but also Pacino's not the 37th best actor of all time. Pacino's not behind Robert Pattinson all time. So this is a fun run right here. What do we got? Willem Dafoe, Joaquin Phoenix, Robert Pattinson, and Al Pacino. the 30s for the greatest actors of all time. Momoa at 41. I mean, with all due respect to Jason Momoa probably not the 41st greatest actor of all time. I mean, Woody Harrelson just has had again, all due respect to Momoa. Maybe I need to go back to the Momoa discography, but Woody Harrelson has just had I think a far superior career to Jason Momoa at this point. I mean, just between No Country for Old Men and White Men Can't Jump alone. I mean, Zombieland might be like a top 3 Momoa movie if Momoa was in it, to be honest. So, and again, I'm just not recalling discography at this point, so definitely underrated, or just filmography. But yeah, so we're not gonna break down this whole list. I guess that was the point. The point was just to prompt us for some names. But yeah, again, as we know, it's sort of the belt is up for grabs, but I do think that Michael B has a chance to grab it, and also like we're saying, he's gonna have that. Pedro Pascal, new to the list, just getting added on. So he's already moving up from 53 to wherever he's at now. But he will have a chance award season to help claim that territory as well too, because it doesn't feel again like the Oscar, as much as we could say this for any of the Oscars. I feel like maybe on the actress sides, I think that might be like the last. There maybe actually that means something at this point to win that. It does still feel like there's a competitiveness there where, and again, I don't know, maybe if I'd have to go back and look at all the nominations and stuff, but maybe they're getting that field right more, or maybe there's, again, just more better options to choose from as well too. So like the field is just more likely to be right at some point. But, and maybe I'm just thinking last year specifically as well too. Again, shout out to Adrian Brody in The Brutalist. But it wasn't necessarily like him winning that second Oscar was a historic sort of push for Adrian Brody's career versus, again, Mikey Madsen getting the best actress. It's like, she's arrived. Like, this is a new star on the scene for the industry. So I'm going back the last couple of years, I don't know if that bears out the same as well too, but it does feel like that has meant a little bit more. I guess, plus you have the Will Smith debacle the year that he won. Brandon Fraser for The Whale, I think, was pretty unanimous. And Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer as well, too. But Murphy's another one. Murphy, he's he's a little like Pattinson in the indie film type stuff that he can get into. I think because of his work with Nolan, his fun movie discography is a better. Cillian Murphy's been in some fun movies as well, too. He'll dip into some stuff, because I was just seeing there's one on Netflix, I think, that there was a couple of movies on Netflix right now that I'm like, how have I just never ever seen this movie? There was a Angelina Jolie, James McAvoy, Morgan Freeman movie that was like them being assassins and running around. I don't know, I had it on in the background, but I was like, okay, I'll watch those 3 guys run around being assassins for a while. That seems okay. I think Common was in that movie as well too. I think back-to-back Common movies. Is that why I recommended it? Common was in American Gangster, and it was like, well, Common's in whatever this movie was as well, too. I forget. It wasn't Limitless. I don't know. But there's a Cillian Murphy movie as well, too, where he's on a plane at some point, and I haven't seen this one, but, I saw, like, the little scroll through clip part, watching it. Intermission, no, yeah, in the 28 Days Later role as well too, pretty iconic. So let's see, do we start with Sunburn back in 1999? Shout out How Harry Became a Tree. No, not Red Eye. Ooh, it might be Red Eye. Oh, Rachel McAdams, it is Red Eye. Yeah, so we might have to add this one to the watch list. Wes Craven again. He'll mix it up, I guess. I guess that's, earlier Cillian Murphy. But Tron, I guess, he's got a cameo in Tron Legacy. I haven't really seen that, but I was going to give him credit for it. Oh, In the Heart of the Sea. That's a big book adaptation. But still, maybe a little bit more going for some box office-y type stuff. So not too much on the slate going forward for him as well, too. But I don't know if he necessarily has the steam from the Oppenheimer in quite the same way. So regardless, I guess the point being Pedro Pascal versus Michael B. Our guy Michael B, I think even after Fantastic Four, I think the buzz around Michael B is great because even if you hadn't seen Sinners, you still had heard about how great his performance was in that movie. And I mean, I was talking to people who hadn't seen the movie yet, but it was the same type of thing. They were like, "Oh no, I hadn't seen it, but I heard Michael B's really great." And he plays two people, right? Yeah, he's got the whole thing, and I've heard it. Yeah, so just his, which is kind of the old school just actor thing that we don't really have in general, anyways. Which goes to that whole point, which maybe is why because I mean, even with a guy like Chalamet in Dune, you didn't really walk away from that going, "Oh man, you have to watch Dune because Chalamet is great." And that again, I mean, maybe I'm just misremembering the conversation. I think maybe there's conversation of, "Oh, Dune's really good. This is an epic. Chalamet is really good in it," or just name a role with whoever. Over the last time we had that type of role, where and getting that out of this type of movie again, Fantastic Four as well too, or started this. Is not necessarily the thing that you would expect, but you still do get those. I mean, again, like a guy like Downey as well too, or a guy like Hemsworth. Maybe not necessarily like awards buzz for like Hemsworth out of Thor Ragnarok, but that was Hemsworth is kind of a movie star type moment. Like we knew that he was great as the the superhero guy, and he was getting better in the Avengers movies themselves for sure. Like I think he's pretty good in Ultron, even though he's definitely doing some yelling and stuff when he's in that pool and stuff. But he's pretty good in that movie. He's asked to do a little bit. So as he just continues to get better in the franchise and in his movie roles, and then you see him in Extraction as well too, which is not necessarily a Ragnarok thing, but again, it's like the movie star stuff is shaping up for him in that type of way as well. But we just haven't necessarily had. I think maybe Madsen last year would have been the one, best actress wise. Just again the conversation in general. It's like I haven't seen this movie yet, but I know that the best I know it's like okay, this is like a transcendent performer, or I guess however you want to say it. But it's like this is just a great performance for the year. And if you're gonna not even see the movie for the movie, like you just have to watch the movie because you're getting a great piece of acting from the people in that movie. So again, I think that's Michael B right now in this movie, and this is just the movie that we have for Pedro Pascal. And I think this movie, you don't want to say it had prestige to it, but it could have had that type of conversation where it's like, and like we're saying, as he climbs into that movie stardom, where it's like, Pedro, movie star Downey Jr. type stuff out of this role. We could, he's Reed Richards all the way, but also he's just the, on the red carpet, just the most great. And I get, I'm not starting to, the conversation around that type of stuff as well too, because I understand the way people move for different reasons. Like, I shout out to Pedro Pascal. He's got, he moves in his own right, and it's, it works perfect for him to be a superstar in that way. But I'm just saying, again, the on-screen stuff that you're getting a portrayal in that role, like you can still, even if it's more rare, you can still get the superstar type stuff from it, and it is that turn for him to start taking that moment if it's there. Like I'm saying, it's there for him as well too. That belt's definitely there for him. So I don't know what this has to do with the 1995 NBA Finals, chat, but hey, I have just been debating about going to see Fantastic Four. It is what it is. So maybe we'll just hit up the Champ Quinn tomorrow and be like, are you going to go see Fantastic Four? He'll probably see it again, but for him. But yeah, we will, or just like, hey, we'll just meet up when it's on Disney Plus in a couple months and just, I guess, just have a, just watch then. But yeah, we were going to sit back and try to rewatch the 1995 NBA Finals. Go back into the time machine in the sports world a couple of years, I guess, we're looking at 30 years back. I wanted to watch an MJ Finals game, but weirdly enough, and that goes to the storyline of the 1995 NBA Finals, we don't have an anniversary of an MJ Finals this year. And I was going to try to be like, miscount the NBA math. And I was like, is the 90-91 season technically count? But the 91 Finals, I think, it's next year, so we could just watch some MJ Finals. Who cares? I guess the reason I wanted to watch MJ Finals because, it's MJ. But because Space Jam was on TV today, and I was like, oh, now I'm just, should we go back and watch some MJ games? Like, I mean, I've already watched the best, his most all-time performance against the Monstars. So just to remember what he was doing against some of the NBA guys as well, too. But it's like, you know what? That 95 finals is pretty fun. And, you know, any chance to watch Hakeem chat, this is a pro Hakeem pod for sure. Young Shaq on the mat, Shaq and Penny. So I don't think we're missing out by watching the 1995 NBA finals instead. But like we're saying, you know, it's a little weird gap year for anniversary type stuff if we're just looking at the MJ timeline of it. That this is like, oh yeah, you know, didn't quite have the 90s turn the corner quite yet. Still had that last Pistons title, and then, you know, ended up leaving the league for a season and a half there, and then had those 2 seasons where Hakeem and the Rockets were able to get their rings. I guess spoiler alert for the 1995 NBA Finals. But let's take a quick break. Let's get this queued up. We should even mention too, we got the Dream up 10 over the link with 6.5 left. So shout out. Oh, make it 8. Little layup there. Good pass by Collier. But we'll take a quick break, get this game queued up. We're going to be watching game 1 of the 1995 NBA Finals. And the iconic, I guess for NBA fans, probably know the iconic missed free throws games. You know, shout out to Magic fans, Magic players. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But it's just what it's known by. We're not making it known by that. We're not saying, hey, fans, call it the missed free throw game. They labeled it that for what happened, and they labeled it that it was before our time. So it is what it is. But yeah, that is the performance that, of course, you know, turned the moment that turned the game, the moment that maybe turned the series. Again, you know, did it turn Shaq's career? Who knows? Maybe it did. Maybe it's I don't know. I guess we can figure all that stuff out on the other side, chat, as we get this game queued up. We'll be right back. Okay, we got it. Check. Queued up in the background here. The 1995 NBA Finals Game 1. Of course, the full game is on YouTube if you guys would like to watch it as well. And we'll second screen it with, I think, in honor of Shaq. I think it's appropriate to second screen it with Kazam. Shout out, of course, on Disney Plus. What's the other movie that I'm thinking of with Shaq? Steel. Steel is not streaming anywhere right now, so maybe there's no way that's not on YouTube as well too. Is Steel like being hidden by the corporate, by big Hollywood, by the movie industries? I don't know, but Kazam fortunately is on Disney Plus. So Kazam on one screen, the 1995 game finals, game 1 on the other screen, about to tip off, of course, in Orlando for the first game as well. So a little. Orlando, I don't know if they were kind of full OKC this 1995 season, just this time period with Shaq and Penny this young in their careers, but just in terms of young cores, this is way up there. As a matter of fact, I was trying to think about this throughout NBA history. Like, you could make the case that this is just the most fun NBA duo that's ever played together in NBA history. I think, of course, Shaq and Kobe, just immediately, just any, I guess, duo that Shaq is a part of, is going to be the most exciting two-man lineup in NBA history. And again, I mean, Shaq is just individually himself a unique and exciting and incredibly fun player. But Penny's swagger and Penny's sort of style of game and his athleticism and his, I don't know if he was necessarily, again, in the timeline of stuff, how transcendent he was as a bigger guy. I guess he's post-Magic as well, too. So he's not even, built like Magic in some ways. But his sort of uniqueness as a combo kind of 1-2 guard is a little bit fun in NBA history. There is sort of a uniqueness where he doesn't get compared to, I think, a ton in NBA, like in draft stuff when guys are getting projected out. And if you do ever hear a Penny Hardaway comp, and he's a weird one with the 3-point shooting, if you're hearing it in 2025, you're like, oh, does that mean the guy can't shoot threes? Like, whatever. But you're also kind of like, oh, like, that's just like a really fun player that doesn't exist a ton just throughout NBA history. But, even Shaq and Wade, I guess the idea of that combo, or Wade and LeBron, I mean, the internet funness of Wade and LeBron was definitely there. Like, the highlights, they definitely had the peak moments, the memes and the comedy and all the different stuff. But they were such a divisive duo as well too, not necessarily divisive, but it was just the NBA divisiveness of that duo. And you either were all in on the Miami move and LeBron being in Miami and you were following that team and almost just a LeBron fan probably, or you were like, this is ridiculous, I can't believe that these three guys are stacked up together and this is unfair for the rest of the league and I don't like that this team exists and now I hate LeBron from an NBA standpoint. And that duo was just very split in that way. I don't know if the Magic necessarily had that, again, being sort of the young drafted core and a newer franchise as well too. Like, younger franchises or other franchises just don't have really beef with the franchise at this point. Like, there's not a chance to really establish any rivalries, and you have these new electric faces, and it's not like they're in, competing cities or something. Obviously they're in the state with the Heat and in that type of way, but it is sort of they're the basketball in the southern states in that type of way. I guess Atlanta, so yeah, it's there for sure. But there's like, another East Coast team, another Atlanta team, or another LA team. I guess I'm thinking Atlanta again, but another team in one of these markets that another Chicago team that could definitely duplicate. But outside of, I think Shea and Jalen Williams are definitely up there. I think Jalen Williams is now getting on that level, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Penny obviously was a little bit here. I guess here, let's see where he was at. And not to say that his awards would determine like his coolness factor, because he did have the ad campaigns and stuff as well too. And Lil Penny, I guess he's gonna be listed in here as Anthony Hardaway. Let's see here. Shout out our guy Anthony Simons as well too. But I guess it would have popped up. Pause if we had searched it as Penny Hardaway. But he would have been first team All NBA in 94-95. Whoa, as a sophomore in the league. So yeah, immediately that's those first 2 seasons. So he has that notoriety going into the finals, and he's competing against, I guess, the other guards at that time. No MJ, so you've got Stockton as the other first team guard, Gary Payton, Mitch Richmond, Reggie Miller at 29. So mid 90s, Reggie Miller is still peak of his powers for sure, and then Clyde Drexler, an older Clyde Drexler. You got Michael Jordan at 44 games played. So this is the return season, I guess, for MJ. And I guess they do take down, don't they? They beat the Bulls, in the playoffs this year. So they are actually able to get past MJ. I guess we'll go look at that series as well, too. I don't know if we're just, relaying out the 30 for 30 at this point. But, Penny with the quick pass out to the corner for 3. I mean, a little bit of a modern element to this series as well, too. And I guess it's not rare for the 90s for the team to have, like, that three-point shooter. Because, I mean, the Bulls had that as well, too. They always had Steve Kerr, Craig Hodges, B.J. Armstrong, those type of rotational guys. The Rockets, of course, they had Kenny Smith. But they did have a little bit more perimeter game with, like, a Vernon Maxwell as well, too. And maybe not even just full three-point. But there, again, was a perimeter, a little bit of spacing around Hakeem type thing that they were going to try to go for, at least playing fast and moving a little bit, and or again just with the athletes that they had out there as well too, and some of the versatility. Like, it does look a little bit more modern in that way, just from a lineup standpoint, where you don't necessarily have even again, Curry, the 3-point shot, like, you're going to end up watching Curry play, and I guess Kenny Smith is a little in that like 6'2", 6'3" type range. But in that, and now it's almost to the point where everybody's moving into like 6'8", 6'9" type range. I was like, okay, we're going to have 10 6'8" players on the court at the same time. But you're starting to get into that aesthetic as well, too, into the 90s with the 6'5" type guys. And maybe the Bulls are pushing that with the way that their team had emerged with the, the length of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the defensive menaces that they were as well too. But it did get away a little bit from that in the 2000s. Not get away from that, but I guess there was anyways a point guard resurgence a little bit in the 2000s, if I'm thinking about it, because you do have, and Jason Kidd's 6'4", 6'5", but Jason Kidd's kind of just playing point guard. But you get Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Tony Parker, Chauncey Billups, and a little bit more traditional. I mean, Iverson as well too is more like two guard stylistically, but again, built like a more point guard. So you do get a resurgence of that type of guy, where, like we're saying, the guard thing just didn't exist in the 90s. So Penny is not only just cool for just NBA history. I guess in this season, like we're saying, him and Shaq just become as marketable. If MJ is out of the league at this point, they become as marketable of guys as you have. And I guess that's the differentiating factor, whatever, what makes them different from, with all due respect to Jalen Williams and Shea. And now you see Shea, especially, he's really getting, of course, the takeover. I mean, as you would expect, and as it's well deserved. I mean, it was like Tatum wins the finals, of course. It's like, oh, how many crypto commercials is Tatum going to be in, I guess. So again, it happens, of course, achieving the success. But like we're saying, Penny they hadn't even got there yet. It was the second season. This was them making that push into the finals. And Jalen Williams, of course, he's been that third team All-NBA guy at his peak in the regular season, and definitely ascended in the playoffs and in the finals. So maybe he's a first team, second team guy going forward. But also just doesn't quite have the same sort of status in the league that Penny Hardaway has. I guess even, maybe Jaylen Brown, if we're doing the Tatum comp, Jaylen Brown definitely gets disrespected in this type of way as well too. But I think he moves as a businessman a little bit differently as well. I don't know if he necessarily pursues his business opportunities on the marketing side of that type of way. I think he's definitely, more thoughtful with the investment stuff. I think, Durant is a guy like that, and Durant will be in commercials, and Durant is definitely very present in the media nowadays. So it's almost kind of a crossover of, he's around, but it's just which way is he, how is he appearing in front of people? And that's even different as well too, because he's leaving himself to be more conversational, vulnerable, and not necessarily just marketable in a traditional sense. But even still, he is not, again, the he's focusing his business in just a different type of way. And early in the game, chat, I gotta be, I don't even know if this is like I gotta be honest. Like, I have never actually sat down and watched the full Game 1, 1995 NBA Finals. I guess that's also, like we're saying, part of the reason for the excuse to do the time machine thing is because it's like, okay, I want to actually sit down and watch some of the old games and actually know what happened from start to finish, knowing the whole game. Because that is a different type of thing. And watching the highlights, I mean, it's not like you need to confirm that, oh, yeah, the highlights were mixed in. They're like, oh, they actually happened. There's the highlight. There's the highlight. But sometimes it's the plays that, again, don't get lost in the highlight reel. Or I guess they get lost in the highlight reel. They don't get brought up. Where Penny's just kind of making passes. He's just kind of whipping moving the ball, just kind of whipping it around paws. And he's definitely, I think, a little bit more of an elite passer than he gets credit for. I don't know, again, some of the vision stuff versus maybe the flair that he's operating with as well too, but a little bit more hybrid in that type of sense, where if you would say, like, maybe Dylan Harper, there is some Penny Hardaway stuff as well too. The Ron Harper stuff is great, but maybe Penny Hardaway in the NBA is a little bit better creator than Dylan Harper was in college. So maybe we'd have to go back and watch the Memphis stuff, I guess, to really deep dive and see how the playmaking compares for Penny Hardaway projectably to a guy like Dylan Harper. But again, sort of a combo, Steph Castle in sort of that, and even De'Aaron Fox as well too. They're all kind of a hybrid sort of size-wise pause in between the 1 and the 2 guard as well too. But that's not even something that I guess I've put together as well too, because again, you just think of MJ and the 90s. So even though that that MJ is not there for these years, you don't necessarily think what the rest of the league looks like without MJ, because he does return and he just continues to dominate and just owns that decade, regardless of what happened those couple of years. But it's not like it's the most fun collection of guards outside of Penny Hardaway. And again, you got obviously Stockton, and these are all legendary Hall of Fame guys as well too. But there is just a little bit of a step back in terms of the face of the league stuff. And I guess maybe not even just step back, but the fact that Penny was able to step in, maybe more so. Maybe that's the positive way to actually look at it, Chad. It's like, okay, Penny is actually kind of stepping in and being a pseudo MJ in that type of way, but also, again, producing. Like, I know they have Shaq as well too. Like, make no mistake, Shaq in terms of Scottie Pippen, it's not even Scottie Pippen at that point. Shaq is the MJ, and Hardaway's the Scottie Pippen in terms of the impact. But in terms of the guard that's leading the team, Penny's teams are, they're winning in the playoffs here. They're making the finals. They are, he is individually achieving first team All NBA success in those individual awards as well too. So, and like we're saying, from the marketability, the sneakers, like, he's just kind of in those shoes for that season in that type of way. And I know that, again, Kobe kind of style, and maybe Shaq has said something about this as well too. I know Shaq is, obviously now, I mean, he'll speak highly of all of his teammates. Shaq's a good dude in that type of way. But I guess of his teammates he speaks highly of. He speaks highly of them. So, but yeah, a lot of the star guys that he's played with, he is very complimentary of Kobe, of course, and Wade and Penny and all those guys. But it's like, okay, I don't know if that was necessarily the case when they were all playing together. If Shaq's traded from all those teams, but or he leaves, I guess, Orlando in free agency at some point. But yeah, I guess this is about as cool of a duo as you're gonna get. So guys to make first team All NBA. So wait, was Shaq I guess was second team. So Hardaway was the first team guy. You got David Robinson as the first team All NBA center. So Shaq is still, of course, probably a top 5 guy in the league at this season. I guess it's close though, because you still got Stockton and Malone, and then they're a decade into their careers at this point, so they're just established. And then Pippen is going crazy this year as well too. I guess he's 21 a game this year, because doesn't he go up to like 24 a game, or 22? He's 22 the year prior, so maybe in the playoffs his numbers are, but his numbers are up in general. And you see him first team All NBA for 3 years in a row there, plus the first team All Defense, top 7 to top 5 with a third in MVP voting in there as well too. But Pippen, I mean, as much as he'll talk about it, I don't think he was getting the money on the court or off the court in the same type of way. Because make no mistake, if Pippen was getting the money off the court, I don't know if he would be looking back at the on the court stuff the same type of way. Hardaway with the and one, and it'll be interesting to see in the second half how they lock in on Hardaway. Maybe they mentioned that in the 30 for 30, but again, this is kind of a like with Hakeem and stuff. They have, of course, a defensive team, but a lot of offense in the guards where you go, do they have a guy to kind of throw on Hardaway in that type of way? Starts this game 5 for 8, 10 points, 3 assists. So yeah, I mean, you see the first team All NBA thing. I mean, the athleticism is crazy. He's just flying around the court right now. Doesn't seem like anybody can contain him. I think I'd have to go back and look at the box score, which I guess we'll pull up here in a little bit. I think this ends up being a really good Kenny Smith game as well too. But offensively, of course, I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess maybe he is like a Kenny Smith gets switched out on Dennis Scott type thing. But even with the 3-point shooting, again, modern NBA, I feel like Penny Hardaway, is there a little Amen Thompson obviously now is more athletic than Penny Hardaway, but that type of space the floor out for your guard type guy. And, even with Shaq, I think those guys, a hot take, I think Penny and Shaq in 2025 are doing okay. But the spacing thing, like you have Dennis Scott there with the 3, so maybe you get hunted a little bit on defense for sure. But Nick Anderson as well too was, again, a really, really good player for him, a really, really good wing. So they I guess in 2025 they would need that one more wing guy to kind of have on the court, because I think they're like, I don't know who this 31 guy is here, this white guy on the court for him, but he's looking more center kind of power forward-y type guy. So I keep forgetting I just have Kazam on the other TV. Shout out to Genie Shaq. Hey yo, but. Oh, chat, they just showed Hakeem's stat line versus the Spurs. 30 in the playoffs this year. 35, 12, and 56% for the field. 4 blocks a game. 5 assists for Hakeem. 35 and 5. 35, 12, and 5. 4 blocks. Hey, yo, chat. 35 a game for Hakeem is crazy. I mean, you think about him compared a 35 for Hakeem compared to like a 35. Or, even Shaq. Compared to like a 35 for Jokic, which, Jokic dominance, and I know we mentioned this before, but his efficiency is so incredible. I mean, that's what makes his offensive game great. And, his field goal percentages are always just off the charts. He literally just never misses. But again, they didn't have the Hakeem just wasn't stepping out for the 3-pointer. Shaq, of course, wasn't stepping out for the 3-pointer. So these guys were putting up 35 on more shots. But yeah, they were being efficient as well too. But I guess the point being, it was like the over the course game domination of a 35 for a guy like Hakeem or Shaq back in the day is just a little bit different than a guy like Jokic. And they did have a free throw element, of course, but it's not like Shaq, I guess, was going to the line and going like 12 for 12 from the free throw line back in the day. He's not necessarily trying to get fouled, I guess. So it's like, Shaq putting up 35 in a game, or, and again, Shaq even at the peak of his powers, 45 and 50. That's just grueling, dominant, just the entire game Shaq is dominating. Where, again, Jokic, as great as, he's as great as all these guys, for sure, when he's at the peak of his powers. But he is, offensively, anyways, for sure. But he is, maybe a guy that's going to hit like a couple of threes in the quarter and then get fouled. It's just going to be a little bit different. So it's more the aesthetic. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying when Hakeem, it's like 35 a game. It's like, oh man, that's just the entire game. It's just Hakeem's just dominating and he can't be stopped. Just every time in the post down to Hakeem. Again with some of the free throws and stuff in there as well too. But yeah, that's a brutal performance. And I mean, unfortunately for our guy Robinson, it is a real legacy establishing type thing. I mean, obviously, if we go back and he wins those series, and it's like, he gets the nod. That's how it goes. But I think even the way that Hakeem outplayed him in those series just puts it puts Hakeem, of course, on a different level. But I think unfortunately it puts Robinson on a different level as well too. Because if Robinson, and maybe we go back, like I'm actually afraid to go watch. Those are games that I don't know if we'll ever go back and rewatch. I'll have to definitely get way older and much more mature. And I don't know. I just don't want to just watch as much as I love Hakeem. Like, I just don't want to watch Hakeem pummel David Robinson for an entire playoff series. Shout out to our guy David Robinson. He's a legend. Like, I'll just take y'all's word for it and just, work it into the math. But again, it's like, Robinson just doesn't get put in the conversation for the greatest centers of all time. His name will get brought up on a list of guys, but you're never gonna argue, or big men pause, however you want to say it now as well too. But he's never gonna get in that tier 1 at the top of the list because of the way that Hakeem outplayed him in the playoffs. It's just what it is. But if you have him going toe to toe with Hakeem in a different type of way, and maybe us going back and rewatching at some point, maybe that's why we need to go back and rewatch it, to defend Olajuwon. But I don't know if that's, or defend Robinson. See, I can't even subconsciously. I just know what's gonna happen. It's just, Hakeem's the guy in that series. It is what it is. Chet, Hakeem's the man. You don't need me to sit here and say it. Even as a Spurs fan, we gotta admit it at some point. Like, that's, again, Hakeem is so great that he outlives the '84 draft. He outlives the rivals. That it's not even that he took down the Spurs in the playoff series, is that it's the Rockets and the Spurs. There's the interstate thing, like there's a team rivalry there as well too. I mean, the series again is obviously a part of it, but there is a team rivalry there that exists outside of the players, and it just doesn't matter. Like, Hakeem's just a legendary guy and everybody loves him, and it is what it is. But again, if you have Robinson now winning a couple finals with Duncan later in his career, but these performances where it's like, oh man, it's not really on Robinson that they lost this finals. The Rockets just had the supporting cast, which they did as well too. They had the perfect group of guys around Hakeem to make the run. So it wouldn't be surprising that both guys could be awesome and the Rockets could still win the series. It would make Robinson's legacy a little bit different, and you would look at that and go, oh, if he had a little bit, and then maybe that again goes into the case. It's like, oh, if the equal teams, like, maybe Robinson does get that little bit of a boost to get the win. But it's like, no, you look at, and I think that it makes it, of course, interesting for the Hakeem Shaq debate, because if you look at Shaq's career on paper, it's, and if you just look at how he dominated just the league in general, it is as dominant a career as anybody has ever had, except for the fact that Hakeem got the better of him in the finals. So it's the perfect timing as well for Hakeem to be matched up against him. Hakeem is like at that perfect spot in his career where, I mean, but that's the great thing about Hakeem. It's like, is there a version of Hakeem where Shaq dominates him? Maybe, same spot in their careers as well too. So Shaq would have been 22 at this point here. Hakeem would have been 32. So a decade in, again, he's got the experience and the veteran know-how, and he's just at the peak cleverness still, with the ability to go out there and just dominate an athlete like Shaq as well too. But Hakeem at 22 would have been a rookie in the NBA, 12th in MVP voting, 20 a game, second team all defense that year. So didn't necessarily make an all NBA team, but yeah, it was 12th in MVP voting. So I guess he's in that top 15 range, but would have had only one NBA season under his belt. I guess Shaq would have had two or three under his belt. So if we're going third here, let me double check and make sure that's right as well too. Would it have been his second season as well that they made it to the finals? No, it would have been in his third season, that they made it to the finals. So I guess as a rookie, he also didn't make all NBA, but he was 7th in MVP voting. So he was, his numbers a little bit better as well too. So, I mean, again, there is a chance that 22-year-old Shaq versus 22-year-old Hakeem, like that, then Shaq does have the advantage. I mean, he's 29 a game. It's like he's just, crazy. Somehow he's second in NBA MVP, but second team all NBA. I guess that's is that just the Robinson? Is this the Robinson MVP year? Is that why? Okay, I guess we were just looking at this as well too. So again, shout out our guy David Robinson. I guess this year is just tough to recall because of what happened in the playoffs. It is what it is. But again, it's Hakeem, so you can't be too upset about that at the end of the day. And that goes back to some of the other finals and playoff losses that the Spurs have had over the course of history, where when they lose to a guy like that, it is kind of okay. But You get a guy like Derek Fisher hitting jump shots with less than a second left, and it's like, okay, this is ridiculous. What are we doing here? Like, if Kobe hits the shot with .4 left, you're like, it's Kobe, man. It's like, what do you do? But if it's Derek Fisher, it's just like, oh, right, knife to the back. Like, oh, tough stuff. But, pause. But, yeah, anyways, again, Hakeem is able to get the benefit of actually, for once time, I guess in a match with Shaq, in this type of way. But still, I would give him the benefit of the doubt at any point in his career versus a guy like Shaq. And, I guess that goes to our guy Duncan. And we can't forget about our guy Duncan. I think the way that he's able to compete against Shaq is, great for his legacy outside of just because, again, the early 2000s is not the best stretch of the NBA. So there is that case where, does Duncan get a little Bill Russelled in that sense where, hey, I don't, Bill Russell obviously, had to deal with things that Duncan didn't have to. I guess we don't, what are we sitting here saying? But, obviously, Bill Russell is a trailblazer in a different type of way. But the way that the era sort of gets discredited that he played in because of the level of competition, like Duncan definitely has a little bit of that in the early 2000s from the basketball community. Shout out Bill Simmons, respect the Duncan titles. Ayo. But Shaq is a guy that was there, and Duncan was competing against him and winning against him in playoff series. And, Garnett as well, too. Like, there are guys like, Bill Simmons, come on. What are we doing here? The Duncan titles are legit. I don't know why okay, Duncan's the 7th best player of all time, but none of his titles are cool. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But regardless, well, the respect in the ranking is obviously, loved from Spurs fans regardless. But, yeah, again, Hakeem, his dominance is in these series against these individual type of players goes directly to his greatness as much as it does, his legacy stuff. Because, that's the thing with MJ as well, too. And maybe, and I guess, we're also not, we're just overlooking all the years that he lost in the playoffs as well. But if we're talking about matchups in the finals like that, I guess here, let's go to like a Hakeem playoff overview here real quick and just see what happened. And I'm assuming the Rockets themselves were not always the most stacked teams that he was playing on. So there could be a little bit of, in 2025, bouncing around the ability to build these teams differently. His career competitiveness looks a little bit different in that type of way, some of those playoff accolades. But he had, let's see here, a couple of first-round exits early on. Western Conference Finals. This is when they made the finals. Yeah, again, that's right. They were making the finals early on, him and Sampson in the mid-'80s. And then semis, lost to Seattle 2-4. A bunch of first-round exits, I guess, at the end of the 80s. So 87, 88, 89, and 90. They lost in the first round each year. And 92 as well, too. So didn't even, I guess, make the playoffs in the 91-90s, in the 91-92 season. And then, oh, no, wait a second. They won in 92-93 and then lost Seattle in the second round in 92, in that year. And then, I guess then they started making playoff pushes in the 90s. So we're not going to go the full Rockets research there, but we're going to credit that to the team. I guess we could throw the 30 for 30 back on. I think they do a little Rockets history in that, leading into that finals team for sure. You got to, of course. But we're going to say that Hakeem was being wasted on the Rockets in the mid-'80s, and it's not his fault that his team was getting bounced out in the first round. So when you put him on a team that can compete against the other guys in a fair sense, not to say that, because we understand that every guy needs a good team, obviously, so that goes without saying. But when we give him the level of team that he needs, now he's able to just destroy these opponents that he's going up against. And even Pat Ewing, again, probably a fortunate time to get him in his career, but is there a time in their careers where we're also not giving him the benefit of the doubt versus Pat Ewing as well too? So the only ones to be honest, the only people in my mind that I wouldn't trust Hakeem against all time, and again, I almost feel like I don't know why I'm the guy that would be like so pro Hakeem that would be detrimental to our own Spurs players, guys. But it's just a sort of an honesty thing about, not an honesty thing, But it's like, okay, again, I haven't sat down and watched this game specifically, but from the highlights that I have seen in the documentaries and whatever, Hakeem is one of the guys, like we're saying, I do like watching his highlights. So from what I have seen of Hakeem, it's like, oh man, who in NBA history is stopping this guy, and which guy in NBA history is he not stopping? And the only guys that you can have those questions about are the guys that he didn't play against, I guess. It's like I'm saying, it would be the guys like in the history before him, like Kareem, where he didn't get a chance to. I guess he did match up against him in the 80s. I guess he did get Kareem in the 80s. So maybe there even is a debate about that as well too. But then they get him back in the 90s as well. Here, let's look at this real quick. Here, would it be this to link into the series? Yes, sir. Kareem versus Hakeem in the playoff series. Hakeem 31-11. So he does also have Ralph Sampson. That's going to help with some of the... Yeah, they're probably not switching the same way, but it's going to help with the front court. Kareem with 27 and 6 rebounds. So under 50% from the field for Kareem in those playoff series. Here, let's just go to Kareem's page and see his stats in the playoff series against the Rockets specifically. So I know we won't have Hakeem side by side to compare, but we can see if his performances, dip down in the series that they played against. So wait a second, opponent. Well, I guess here we'll go back and just do it the way scrolling through here. And I guess Hakeem, yeah, he had a long career, so we might have to scroll a little bit. So 80-81 would not have been Hakeem. It would have been after 84. We have, that series that they lost that we just mentioned, which, again, his numbers overall are good, but you imagine with the shots that Kareem is going for, if he's shooting under 50% for the field, that the defense is really doing their job in that series at a pretty good level. And then I guess because his last playoff series would have been 80-89. So we were given the benefit of the doubt. I just assumed Kareem played forever, obviously. So those last couple of years where they got him in the first round, it wasn't with Kareem. So not how. Who's the guy that took over? Was Sam Perkins there for Divac? Got into the picture there for a minute, but not in the early 90s, right? There's another center that I'm thinking of that I think we could probably look up their name here in a second. But, at least, again, in the one series that he did play against Kareem, I guess, he did get the win. So, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, or Tim Duncan, I guess, would be the guys. Or, again, like a later version of Shaq would be, okay, Lakers Shaq, just all-time Apex Mountain Shaq versus Apex Mountain Hakeem. Which of those guys are able to win a battle? Because, Shaq is another one, sort of 1v1, the unstoppable factor. Do you really think any of the other guys in NBA history are going to be able to slow him down in a major way, consistently for whatever the period of time is? But that, of course, I think goes into his all-time credit as well, too. Just he's an unstoppable guy. Maybe the fantasy draft conversation versus the on-the-court career stuff. But, again, his accolades are up there with everybody else's, so wouldn't take away from a major way in that way. But, yeah, so 88-89, he lost to Seattle in the first round. So they didn't play the Lakers. So the 2 years after Kareem left, they lost to L.A. Both those times. Orlando Woolridge? Was that the same? Oh, they did have Vlade Divac. Hey, yo. So only 18 minutes a game, 10 points, 4 rebounds. I would say was Vlade Divac's name is going to go up our rankings if he's taken down Hakeem in these playoff series. Hakeem himself, I guess not great, chat. Not great. Hey, yo, 18 a game, 44% for the field. So we need to stop doing research. Hey, yo, we're going to hurt our guy Hakeem's legacy. But Vernon Maxwell, Otis Thorpe, some of the pieces still that were there for the finals team, but not necessarily, I think, the rest of the supporting cast holding up as well, too. And you see even, like, Vernon Maxwell's not, 37% from the field in this series. It's not necessarily his best effort as well. But wait, am I crazy? Woolridge was a center, right? Oh, a small forward. 6'9"? He might have been. Obo Cop? Did I see that as a nickname? Ooh, chat. That might be up there. Obo Cop? O as a nickname? O, or just Tree. Tree Woolridge, there's a Tree Rollins, so it feels kind of taken already. But Obo Cop is not bad whatsoever. I can't believe maybe that's why there hasn't been another RoboCop type nickname, but maybe there just hasn't been the right guy as well too. Like has there been, I was gonna say like a Robert Parrish couldn't have been RoboCop. See what he's got a nickname. He's like the Reverend or something like that, because Parrish, so it's a play off of that. But wait, what other Roberts are there? Robert Covington, Robert Ory. Oh, would mean actually click on Robert Covington. Shout out. But wait, Robert Parrish. I guess again there haven't been a lot of great NBA Roberts, or like Roberto Bergenson. Shout out. But wait, what was Robert Parrish's nickname? Oh, the Chief. Okay, I thought he had some kind of the priest or something like that, but maybe they took that one down. Hey, I'm not gonna give him credit for that. But the Chief, shout out. So that now that I hear that, it's like, oh yeah, Robert Parrish. That's the iconic nickname that he was going by back in the day. I guess I don't know if we're still saying that, but 8th pick by the Warriors. Chat, shout out. Unfortunately, not able to get the best out of Robert Parrish back in the day, but still his career was great, so that's what counts. But what other, like I guess Ron. But Ron doesn't really have a RoboCop type feel for that name. Ronald, and I guess Dylan Harper's not Ron Harper Jr. like that. Rajon could have been RoboCop. Rondo Cop. Maybe, I don't know. And maybe I don't know who wants to claim the nickname. But for RoboCop purposes, it might be okay. I was gonna say it's not Robert Westbrook, is it? It's shout out our guy Russell Westbrook, but that's where he's at right now in his career. Who's that guy? Robert Westbrook? Hey yo, shout out. No, he's still great. Robert Westbrook, come to the Spurs. Pause. We need you on the Spurs, but well, I don't know if we need you, but we'll take it for sure. But yeah, so I don't even know what the score is in the game at this point. Here we go. Orlando 47, Houston 34. So definitely a second half push or end of the second quarter here for not our Rockets, but for our guy Olajuwon and his team. We got the little off the dribble, and early Sam Cassell as well too. So another sort of perimeter guard. Like, I guess they didn't quite, like we were saying, have the switchability, but they had the versatility in the sort of everybody can kind of create a shot element for their team, which I don't know is not, and again, I think maybe team building principles have just become more focused, or at least attempted to become more focused and more defined, versus maybe back in the day it was just a little bit more vague of getting players. And in the 90s as well too, you start to see, I mean, there were systems all throughout, but with like the triangle and stuff, you really see like that type of coaching, like schematic type stuff really, I think, become more notable, at least in the type of stuff that you see carried on into today as well too. And that's it, the triangle gets carried on today, but again, like the notoriety of it, and I'm sure there's reasons that it's notable. The basic principles, I'm sure, there's still principles of it that are used, I'm guessing, in offenses in certain ways. But the ability, like we're saying, for the creative stuff is still stuff that you look back through NBA history and go, yeah, of course all of these good teams had it. But again, I don't know if it was necessarily as focused in the same way. But you do hear about that in the doc, in that 30 for 30 doc, about them trying to build that kind of specific type of thing. So I don't know if, again, this is an early sort of version of a team thinking in that type of way. But even go back to, again, like mentioned, like Bill Russell. I guess, like Bill Russell kind of creating a shot for himself. But again, we understand maybe he's not, and he is kind of creating shot for himself as well too, with the way he's moved, like his movement will create that shot. So again, maybe he's not a guy that's movement around the 3-point line. He's not Kyle Korver, but maybe he is still able to operate and find space with the way that he is moving around the court. But rest of those guys, like, okay, in the version of the time, it's like, yeah, I guess Kuzi could get a shot for himself. The Jones guys, Havlicek, Heinsohn, whoever else was on those teams back in the day. Like, they definitely had their, okay, this guy was the defender and this guy was kind of the playmaker and all that different stuff. But, it's like, okay, there's an eliteness, obviously, to all of the guys that they had. Or, even like the Lakers teams. And it goes also to the talent in the NBA that as time goes on, you could get to a point where you could have more and more guys creating a shot for themselves as well, too. But, again, with the way free agency was structured, it was more for all of the teams to kind of be able to have those guys. And, a team like the Celtics was just like, okay, it's just going to be a smart franchise for like 40 years in NBA history. But, of course, just, again, the consistent teams building that way from top to bottom, I think is a thing that we're seeing now. Because even the Spurs, are focused in that way. Even the teams that, not to say that teams that weren't winning the finals back then weren't necessarily starting to think this way as well, too. But this is, I think, a way that everybody is kind of thinking, and a way that we get to think now with the way that the players are playing and everybody is more becoming advanced one-on-one. But, again, it's more about now, like, what kind of almost like just the heights of the guys that you want in your lineups at this point. And that still does come with, to a certain degree, certain skill sets of like traditional centers and guards and wings and things like that. But even a guy like, our guy Henson Yang, you go, okay, his diverse skill set. There's nothing, maybe he's not an elite 3-point shooter yet, but he's going to be able to move around, and there's not really a ton of stuff that you wouldn't think projectively that he could accomplish as well, too. And, again, like, Shaq is not... I guess, Shaq's creating a shot for himself. He's not necessarily the 3-point threat in the floor spacing and all that different stuff. But shout out our guy, Rudy Tomjanovich, as well, too. Coach for the Rockets for this run. Legendary coach. Of course, legendary player incident, getting punched in the face in a brutal, I think, on-the-court accident for NBA history. But, of course, the recovery and then into coaching and wins titles as a coach, has a great run. Of course, has Hakeem to thank for it. But one of the great careers of a Michigan basketball player in the NBA. And, again, the greatness of the coaching career as well, too. But it doesn't matter. Like, how many NBA players have played at Michigan and then gone on to coach an NBA Finals team? I think it's, to my knowledge, just Rudy Tomjanovich. Again, if I'm missing somebody. I mean, you got, like, Juwan Howard as an assistant. There's other guys. But as the main coach, it's our guy Rudy Tomjanovich. And that's kind of the most main piece that a Michigan guy has been to a title as well, too. I guess... you got, like, of course, what the Fab Five was all able... a lot of them were able to have really great NBA careers. Of course, Webber and Rose and How... all those guys were really great in the NBA, for sure. But none of them ever won the title. Glenn Rice, awesome at Michigan, never won... and had great runs in the NBA. Never... I guess, did he win the title in LA? But, again, was a different type of more third, fourth piece type guy than necessarily, main part of the team. So he would be up there as well, too, again, just for those LA runs of his role, regardless of what it was. But I think the point being, I think Rudy Tomjanovich, as the head coach, gets the nod as the most important Michigan guy piece to an NBA title. But I just kind of spitballed that one as well, too. I didn't necessarily look that list up. But, and again, Michigan's got some great players, but we haven't had this guy in the finals is having the great performance. I think Chris Webber in the playoffs is about as close as we would get to that from a Michigan standpoint. Or, again, Jalen Rose himself as well, too. But you see the Rockets really starting to fly around. Some offensive rebounds as well, too, helping them get back in the mix and kind of getting some three-pointers off of that. So I don't think we're quite at halftime here, but I think as we close the half, it gets pretty close. Mario Ellie, if I'm getting that name right, I think pretty major piece for this team. I think, and you kind of see him have the 7-8 guys as well too. I mean, for both teams, the rotations and for any team are always going to just continue to get narrowed down to the last and the last guys. And it's like, okay, we may have 5 guys out there, but we're only actually playing 3-on-5 at some point, or 3-on-3, or whatever the actual matchup is for a given series. But I mean, the Rockets are a good put this team in NBA history and just have a matchup against teams and see what they do. And maybe against some of the other just again bigger teams as well too. Hakeem's going to be able to handle a lot of that center stuff. But if the team does have better fours or forwards in general, like if they were matched up against a peak version of the Lakers team and you got guys like James Worthy out there, like maybe he's able to give not maybe, but he's probably giving them problems. Drexler's containing him in the right type of way, because I guess, do we get peak Drexler? If we're taking Apex Mountain versions of everybody, if they get an Apex Clyde Drexler in just whatever sort of version of this we can get, then the upside of that lineup becomes much more different, because I mean, he was a guy as well too that was taking teams to the finals as a main guy. Unfortunately, had MJ matched up one year, and then they lost to that Pistons team the other year as well too, but was in the finals 2 years in a row and has to get credit for that, and would make sense that as a guy sort of sidekick to Hakeem could accomplish a title win. But again, just got him later in his career. So if you're getting early 90s Drexler on this team, and then peak Olajuwon, peak versions of all these guys, it's competing with just about any team in NBA history. With the and again, like, okay, 2017 Warriors, there's gonna be some teams that are obviously in a different tier, but again, their ability to match up where they're a little, again, maybe kind of like the Rockets were with Harden against those Warriors teams, where definitely not the team of, again, the next best guys in the NBA, where it's like, okay, obviously, they have the 2 best players in the NBA, but now the Rockets have the 3rd and the 4th with PJ Tucker and Nene. But it was still like, and I don't know if those were the 2 guys that were there when, for the entire run, but PJ Tucker was pretty important, and those were guys that they had a collection of guys around Harden that it worked and it made sense for the style of play that they were going for, and matched up really great against the opponent they were trying to take down as well too. But again, opponent that is pretty versatile through NBA history as well too. So stylistically, I guess that's the thing. Stylistically, they're a pretty versatile team, and they can compete throughout. Though I think you could probably say that about a lot of course, championship teams for sure. I mean, hot take, but this is kind of a sneaky one with the rank the guys up against all the other guys, but still the way the talent meshes together. And we get some good doubling here on Penny Hardaway. I don't know, do we move to a zone? What happened? Oh, Ori with the block. So is that the guy? A double block. Is that the guy they have to put on Hardaway? Would that be the move 2025 if we're going one-on-one, matchups? I guess we still, pivot to zone every now and then in 2025 as well too. But is that the one that they would attack Penny Hardaway with defensively? Would be Robert Horry, and say, okay, we're going to get the wing, the length. And Robert Horry is kind of a stopper as well too. You don't really, I mean, to his credit, he hit a lot of course, clutch shots in his career and was a great, just consistent floor spacer as well too. He was not necessarily a guy that just hit clutch threes. I mean, again, he was a good 3-point shooter, and then on top of that, stepped up when they needed him to. I mean, I was trying to think of like a guy like Shane Battier. I mean, a guy like, other guys on the Heat just had the moments as well too. But of course, there have been other guys in that role as well. But just his ability to have that extra layer of clutchness definitely adds to his legacy. But you don't hear about him if you were thinking from an all-time lineup standpoint of, oh, you get the two-way thing with like a peak Robert Horry. But that is an underrated storyline that, again, you sort of get going back and watch the games as well too. So Olajuwon in the first half, 6 for 12, 14 points. O'Neal, 4 for 6. So again, the efficiencies there. 5 assists for Shaq in the first half, 9 points. So, even difficult to say that Shaq had played bad. I think the main thing would have been, again, the timing in the career would have been the mental aspect, and that just plays out, of course, over the course of the finals, more so than just Shaq. But that would have been the main thing that helped, I think, Hakeem continue to get this win. And, doubling with Ori on Shaq as well, too. So you get the little bit of, I don't know if he's going to guard Shaq one-on-one, obviously. But the help defender in the post, but then out on the perimeter. I mean, Ori, of course, is just a timeless guy, obviously. Put him in NBA history, put him on any team. He is going to be successful and impactful. And I mean, he proved it as well, too. He's successful across a lot of generations. Or, decades, teams, years as well, too. But second half is underway on the highlights here, but on the YouTube that we are watching, of course. But we are going to take a quick break and then be back with the second half of Game 1 of the 1995 NBA Finals. It's Rockets versus Magic. It's Hakeem versus Shaq, so it's all-time stuff. And don't forget about Kazam just on the other TV. The guy's just controlling the toast with his mind. I forget exactly what's going on with the scene. But, chat. Okay, we're going to have to take a break and figure out what's going on with Kazam. And then we'll be back to rewatch the second half of Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Okay, chat, we're back. Second half underway, and of course, Hakeem gets it started with a basket. I mean, it's going to be a lot of that because the Rockets still have to have a little bit of a comeback here as well, too. But, oh, Shaq. Oh, they got him on the travel as well. So we got to actually lock in on some of the game stuff that's going on here. I mean, you see the dominance. He did bowl over Hakeem there for sure. That was about as aggressive about a player. I mean, a player that relies on not the same relies, but you know what I'm saying. A player that plays with the physical edge that Shaq plays with is going to have those moments of, oh man, I need a bucket, I need something. I'm just going to just like lower the shoulder as close to an offensive foul and just hope the ref doesn't call it and see if I just get that respect. And that's exactly what they there. So they got him with the travel, not the offensive foul. But that was the energy that he provided. I mean, Hakeem I think was that a 95 flop from Hakeem. And I think that's something as well, too, that has not necessarily just jumped off the page. I wouldn't say that, again, it's not necessarily Bad Boys Pistons at 95. They're not around anymore. But just in general, the 90s defense that you hear about, that is just the era of just brutal basketball, and NJ's just, not to disrespect NJ. I mean, obviously, I think every era of defense is fine. The guys are playing defense when it matters for the most part, and just don't watch the All-Star game, and I think you'll be okay. But I wouldn't say that it's a higher level of defense. I would say, again, a lot of doubling for sure, and I think the spacing, of course, makes things a little bit easier for guys to help, and it's just going to be different navigating the court in that type of way. And, again, we have great defenders in this playoff series as well, too, specifically. We have Hakeem, we have Shaq, we have some great wings out there. So we're going to see good defense in that way. But I wouldn't say that, again, we're seeing incomparable efforts to what we're seeing in 2025 or, the last couple of years or whatever. But, again, still feels good. It's still fine. It's not bad defense. It's just, like I'm saying, I wouldn't say dramatically levels above what we're getting in 2025. And this is the playoffs. This is the finals as well, too. So, I would say finals level defense, and again, OKC, maybe a little bit of an exception where we watched about as good as a defensive performance, about in the domination, the equivalent domination as well too. What they were doing to their opponents defensively is about as good as we've seen a team accomplish in any season in the NBA. But regardless, this is the highest level of basketball for the 1995 season. So you imagine that, like I'm saying, two capable defensive teams as well too. So you imagine this is a pretty good way to test what we were getting effort level from that season. But now they just immediately committed back to just, okay, Shaq in the post around the basket every time is probably, at any point in NBA history, a good move. So even Hakeem on him, a little bit of a struggle here to start the second half. And Shaq is the other, like I'm saying as well too, the dominant factor of who do you trust these guys against? Like I'm saying, the later versions, LA Shaq, it's just difficult for anybody to stop LA Shaq. But I would give Hakeem about as good of a chance as anybody in NBA history. I guess, I'll just say it, to be honest, the way I should say it, I guess I would take Hakeem Olajuwon to stop any other big man in NBA history, I guess, at that point, even over our guy Duncan. I don't know if I'm saying, straight up both ways, how that starts to factor into it as well too, but I don't know if offensively Hakeem is behind those guys in any type of way. And I think that guys are just still going to they're still going to him for advice on how to play offense. So I imagine that would be a good indicator to how good he was at that level as well too. But shout out to Kareem. I'm not trying to this is not a let's turn this into disrespect Kareem night, and maybe this will be part of the us catching up on NBA history, is us to go back and watch Kareem. And his dominance as well too. He's got a little bit of that Wemby effect where he's just he's just taller than everybody else. That's going to matter, and he's able to use that leverage to his benefit for sure. But I don't know if he's necessarily a better basketball player than Hakeem or Shaq. I think he had a better career, arguably, but I don't know if he's a better basketball player. I think you could argue that basketball player, Hakeem and Shaq are the two greatest, big men of all time. I think that is Shaq's dominance on offense, especially, of course, and then mix that with how he's able to play defensively, and then Hakeem's defense defensively, and then mix that, of course, like I was saying, probably better offensively than Shaq was defensively, but still pretty close both ways around. But the best version of both of those guys is probably about as good of a big man as you're going to get in the NBA. Garnett's kind of the wild card. Is there an extra even level of Garnett that we didn't even get to see just unlocked with some different teammates in the prime? And yeah, Kenny Smith in the second half, Chad, is bringing him back as well too. I mean, this is iconic stuff. Like we're saying, this is maybe the stuff that gets remembered with the people that watch it. Those kind of role player performances that are iconic to the fan bases and to the people of the time. But Ori, again, big shot moments, and he had good games as well too in the finals. But Kenny Smith was a big playoff game guy for sure, and had the high school stuff as well too. I mean, he continues, and and maybe again me just unlocking stuff as I go back and watch this stuff. But one of the things that I know we had talked about on the pod this year was the sort of keeping an eye on the Aaron Gordon type of player, that high lottery pick, top 10 draft pick type guy that, yeah, maybe he's not going to be the best player on a title team, but if you're able to bring him in as the second or third type guy, or I guess Aaron Gordon was maybe like a fourth guy when they brought him in, but was a third guy at some point that became the second best player on the team. Like, if you have him and bring him into that type of situation, then maybe you're able to get the best version out of him. And Kenny Smith is like that. Like, a lot of these teams, like we're saying, it's not just, again, the skill level of the guys, of course, but there is something to the way it's been bared out across all the levels. Again, Kenny Smith was a high school all-star guy, All-American, and was a great college player. And again, maybe he didn't. So a 23-8 run, maybe he didn't lead an NBA team to a title as the best guy, but turns out also the guy that is like the fourth best player on the team had that pedigree in that type of way. So it's not just a math equation of, oh, okay, I guess this guy's a top 10 high school prospect. He's going to be impacting a playoff game at some point. I know it's a little like the Danny Ainge mindset, but it is something to keep an eye on as well, too. Ace Bailey, Chad. I feel, this is going to be the Ace Bailey cycle. Maybe Jabari Smith is in this. I know we did a rant earlier in the season about Scotty Barnes. I mean, I think about it with I think Scotty Barnes could be this type of guy as well too. Like, those are the guys to keep an eye on, and the contracts are always a thing with those. Jabari Smith just got paid as well too. And Jaren Jackson is kind of playing in the second, third type guy role, but has he really been more the best guy type role with the way the consistency some of the other stars have been there as well too. But those are the guys that when the team gives up on them and the value feels low, it's like, let's take almost a chance on that guy. And the contracts is the thing that is tough, and especially now as well too, where maybe the chance on that guy was a little bit different. So we'll just have to see how that type of guy is able to navigate the market. Because what does Scotty Barnes' next contract look like? I guess, again, if Scotty Barnes doesn't take the Raptors to the Eastern Conference Finals, or is not like on second team All-NBA every year, is he just going to be locked in for another $50 million? Is he going to be now a mid-level exception guy who's making $14 million, or is he still, of course, is there going to be that $25 to $30 million a year range for him as well too? But even still, that could feel almost beneficial with the level of play that you could potentially get out of him. And Aaron Gordon was in that kind of $20 million a year range for now. So projecting forward is at $31 million as well too. Like the math of that could be equivalent. But like I'm saying, that type of guy, Kenny Smith. So let's see where he was at in the draft. I imagine he was, valued in the draft as well too, with the way he performed at the amateur levels. Let's see here, but 6th overall pick in the '87 draft. So again, almost a decade later, I guess, since '87, and good numbers for sure. Double-digit scorer. I guess in had some MVP votes in his career Kenny Smith got MVP votes. I mean, this man's legit, Chad. Hey, shout out. I mean, the percentages were always great. I mean, probably would have been better, but, again, there's, I don't know if 20, see, we always say, like, is 2025 the best time for some of these guys, like, if they just shot a bunch of threes back in the day? But, like I'm saying, with the way the versatility, with the way the league is getting taller and more, Sam has talked about this as well, too, but, like we're saying, since the league is trending bigger, pause. I don't know if a 6'3" guy and the same one six is the same type of thing, but maybe like 2015, like Kenny Smith in 2015, 2018, like maybe that's the most lethal. Like a Kyle Lowry, like peak Kyle Lowry years, like Kenny Smith could be Kyle Lowry in modern days, I think, for sure. But it was again valued in the draft, valued in high school, had just was a prospect the entire time for sure, and even though he played a different role in the Rockets, was still able to impact him in a major way. Like, where was Ori drafted at? Maybe he was like a teens, 20s type guy. 11th? So, once you start getting out of the top 10, it's like, Robert Ori, what a pick. The 11th overall pick in the draft. I mean, it's really good. The 92 draft. You have to go back here real quick and see. I guess that's the Shaq draft. Hey, so is he like Alonzo Mourning? He's up there with the best players. Sprewell, second in the class in scoring, over Alonzo Mourning. And Jim Jackson has almost twice as many career points as Robert Ori as well, too. So, I mean, Robert Ori getting the playoff stuff is crazy, but the regular season thing, because they did play the same amount, I mean, pretty close to the same amount of minutes. So, Jim Jackson at 29K, Robert Ori at 27K, but Jim Jackson at 12,700 points, Robert Ori at 7,700 points. So, percentages. I mean, Jim Jackson, we got to give him credit, Chad. He should have been a guy. 4th overall pick, and he had some injuries as well too. How did that sort of affect? Because I guess those early years, his early, and I don't know, the Mavericks team, they were the best team in the league. But I guess the '94 season, 51 games played, he's 47% from the field at 25 a game that year. Only 31% from three, but the next year, 36% from three down to 43% from the field in Dallas. Traded from Dallas to the Nets, then starts to bounce around. I don't know when the injury actually takes place in here. Maybe it was this season that he got hurt. Of course, that's 2025. That's what will happen now. Of course, actually, it would just happen for our guy. Probably is like the playoffs, game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's like, okay, now he goes down with injury. Of course, it's the way it happens now. Playoff injuries. I don't know what the trend is going to continue to be there, for sure. But I guess, he would have been a guy at some point. So wait, where did he end up going? Dallas, New Jersey, every team. Philly in '98. So wait, where was he? Philly, was he on? No, he would have been on the Cavs the year that they made the finals. But maybe he sticks around in Philly a couple of years, and like him and Iverson, like a better. So maybe he's more expensive. He's actually a real dude at that point. Who knows what that team actually looks like? But again, maybe he becomes a different type of guy. But we just looked at that, like I'm saying, earlier this year, in those past couple of drafts. I guess Leitner, did Leitner ever? If Leitner would have been like the 4th man on a team, like where did he end up bouncing around to? I guess was he Miami? I guess did he win a finals? He did 04-05. That wasn't the finals team. I guess he might not have been there the year that so they won the next year 05-06. That's what it was. Hey, shout out. Yeah, so the 04-05, of course, would have been the Spurs over the Pistons, I guess. But 05-06 would have been the Mavs over the Heat. So just 1 year short of making the potential finals win with that team. So Minnesota to Atlanta, because I think, like Atlanta in the late 90s, like he's probably like the second, I guess he's an all-star in 96, 97. So 56 and 26, like, this team's kind of decent. Leitner, Steve Smith, Mutombo, Mookie Blaylock, like, it's a good regular season team. Like, again, that's not Leitner as the 4th guy. That's a different version of Leitner as the 4th guy, But again, I think there's a version where he could be the 4th best guy in the team, but also still the team is better than this. But he might be the best player on this team, honestly. between, I guess, Mutombo, again, it's a good balance of the top three. You can see why they're able to, definitely have regular season success. And they won a playoff series as well, too. Late 90s Detroit. I think, of course, they're going to lose to the Bulls as well. Shout, I mean, Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman in 96, 97 are probably going to have a pretty easy series in the second round. So that's, I think a little underrated storyline of the last half of the MJ trilogy, the little Eastern Conference in the late 90s, not the best. Hey, yo. Then they lost to Charlotte. I guess it's a pretty good Charlotte team, right? Is this like Del Curry and those guys? Oh, our guy Glenn Rice. Shout out. This is his team. Anthony Mason. Vlade Divac on this team. Del Curry, a little bit older, not peak Del Curry. And our guy Vernon Maxwell from that Rockets team. Powered this team to once again lose to the Bulls in the playoffs. So, I mean, again, the Bulls is not a murder, at least in the second round, not a murderer's row second round opponents in the late 90s. But regardless, and Eric Recherche, who's this guy? Rick Kastner? Whoa, Kastner, hey, yep. Tyron Corbin as well, too, getting in the mix. But if Leitner had been on, again, who's a good team that even would have competed? Like, what if Leitner had been on the Jazz? Like, I don't know if there's a role for him on that team next. Leitner and Malone, are both those guys able to play together? But wait, let's go back to that All-Star. I guess I'll pivot this to the Leitner. Right as we get to the most dramatic part of the game, we start talking about Christian Leitner's NBA career. It's just what it is! But Kenny Smith it's just Kenny Smith just barreling threes in the second half. It's really, every time I look up, it's just Kenny Smith's walking down the court high-fiving guys. Like, there's another one. Houston up by 6 now. Did he hit all these in the third quarter? Okay, we're going to quick pivot to a second tab. We're going to get quick focus on this game here. And double-check this Kenny Smith performance, I guess. Because he's hit definitely most of his threes. And maybe he gets a clutch one or two. He gets a couple of clutch threes, I think, in his finals, like I'm saying, just in general. A Robert Horry 3 to match. Horry and Kenny Smith. I mean, again, that combo is going to be able to put up points, Chad. Weirdly, I think, like if they're playing that peak Lakers team, I say Worthy, like a guy like Byron Scott as well, too, probably able to match him against Kenny Smith pretty well. And we're just leaving out Magic, kind of intentionally, like, okay, we understand his impact as well. But, Jacques Vaughn versus Byron Scott, the battle of the 35-win coaches it's not Jacques. Wait, who is this guy, Chad? I'm forgetting this guy's name. Can we get a cutaway to this guy's jersey? Again, Kenny Smith. So wait, where's this game? But who is also so I guess here we'll see who the other guy for the Magic is. Not Dennis Scott. There's another media coach guy that is on the lineup in this game as well too. Oh, and we get overtime for this one. I forgot this game goes to overtime. Shout out. So, do we have the quarter? Oh, we don't have the quarter breakdown. Oh, Basketball Reference is slacking. But Kenny Smith 7 for 11 in this game just in general. Oh, Horace Grant with the tough little fadeaway over Hakeem. Okay, Horace Grant, sneaky. I don't know. Do we call Horace Grant mini Hakeem offensively? I think that's probably a little bit of a stretch, but he was definitely a solid 18-point a game scorer in the NBA type range. So he's going to have a couple of moments where he shines, even against a great defender like Hakeem as well. But the other guy for the Magic that I'm thinking of, Brian Shaw. That's who it is, Chad. For some reason, I wasn't necessarily getting him and Jacques Vaughn mixed up, but I feel like their coaching careers have been similar enough to where the coaching careers of Brian Shaw, Byron Scott, and Jacques Vaughn, or I mix up their careers, but not, again, the guys themselves. But I feel like you hire one of those guys, you hire all three of them. Like, it's the same guy, coaching-wise. Same amount of wins they're going to get. Maybe Brian Shaw's a few less. I guess Jacques Vaughn, shout out. There was a moment there where it's like, he's got this Nets team playing kind of well. Hey, yo. But Kenny Smith, I guess, finals record, at this point, he's made 6 in the game, and we are just now entering the fourth quarter. Now a dribble pull-up. The counter's off of the three-pointers as well, too. But that goes into sort of there is that extra layer of skill set that Kenny Smith has buried in there. Oh, do I have the mic? Did I unplug the mic, chat? Hey, yo. I don't know how long that's been unplugged. Sorry about that. It is what it is. I think we're still going on the audio front, though. So, sorry, just random computer audio there for a second. Testing 1, 2, 3. Ooh, we're cooking, chat. Welcome to the professional version of the Rem and Sam pod, and we're not even on Rem and Sam Plus, but this is for those that powered through the computer audio version. So fourth quarter, just in time, 4 points. Orlando versus Houston here, but yeah, I guess Brian Shaw versus Byron Scott. Byron Scott was pretty good as a player, so I think Brian Shaw was pretty good as well. What was Brian Shaw's best year? He's 5 for 12 in this game. Honestly, 12. If he's tasked with taking 12 shots, just don't go like 1 for 12. So 13 a game in that type of range. Didn't make any like all defensive teams type stuff, but maybe would have got some votes as well too. Career, let's see, 30% from 3 is not great, but he wasn't taking a ton as well too. 1.5 for his career. But good guard rotation guy, I guess. For a majority. I mean, he played a while, for sure. Shout out. And on good teams, I mean, Boston, Miami, Orlando, LA, bounce around. And I guess that's why, Byron Scott, Brian Shaw, because I guess, where did he coach as well, too? Since we're talking about his coaching career. Do we have a coaching page for Brian Shaw? Was he an intern? I feel like all of those guys also had that sort of, were the interim, but then kind of became the head coach. Was like, what's going on? So assistant in the Lakers, 04 to 2010, Indiana, then head coach at Denver, I guess, and then back to associate head coach in LA. And I guess it's not showing an interim run. And then on the Clippers, now he's on the Clippers as of last season. So keeping the house, I guess, in the same neighborhood. Well, I guess I don't know if you work for the Lakers or the Clippers if you have to move. I don't know if LA is that type of city. But at least, you're still staying in the same area generally. But, wait, so Brian Shaw, Byron Scott, maybe he was coach of the Lakers with Brian Shaw. I guess those last couple of seasons, what a coaching staff. Byron Scott and Brian Shaw. Am I just thinking of this coaching staff because they were all together? Can we look up just this team? Who was the 2014 Lakers coaching staff? I don't know why this would just be ingrained in our memory. But, okay, wait. So, Thomas Scott, Larry Lewis. So, I guess no Brian Shaw. Shout out. Just Byron Scott. It is what it is. Larry Lewis, Thomas Scott, Gary Vitti, Paul Pressey, Jim Ian, and Mark Madsen? Mark Madsen, the actor? Or was it Mike Madsen? Let's see here. Was Mark Madsen the actor? Sure. Mark Madden. Let's see here. Oh, Mark Madsen or Mark Madsen? Okay, Mark Madsen, American basketball coach. But R.I.P. Who's the actor? Because the Rewatchables just did Species, which, gotta say, good recommend. So wait, I guess we'll just look up this movie real quick and see what we get. Okay. We're not scientists over here. What are we talking about? I guess 1995 anniversary as well too. But 42% on Rotten Tomatoes seems higher than you would expect. Where's the cast for this movie? Just hidden. Oh, here we go. Shout out. I guess Michael Madsen. So Mike Madsen technically, but I guess goes by Michael. So R.I.P. the legend, of course. And was definitely excited to be like, okay, this will be a new movie that we might throw on a couple times maybe. But so I don't know. Wait, was he also on this Lakers coaching staff? Oh, Mark, not Michael. Yeah, close enough. But maybe related? Who knows? But so fourth quarter is underway. We're just letting Hakeem's legendary performance slide by. Kenny Smith's legendary performance as well too. And here, let's see what Clyde did in this series. Pause, because once again, legendary for his status as a guy in the league and then able to jump to a team. I mean, a sort of different example of what we were saying earlier, as that's a guy who was on a team literally getting teams to the finals and then moved to a different role where he's still impacting teams at that level, but now he has Hakeem able to carry the team in a different way. So I guess Jimmy Butler is kind of in that role now. I don't know if Jimmy Butler's the modern day Clyde on Golden State. I don't know if he still is at the point in his career where Clyde is at in Houston, but I guess that'd be one type of guy. So I don't know if you're like Jimmy Butler on the next team is still Clyde as well too. And again with the league, the cycle, I don't know if the veteran guys, as much as the legendary guys can play for much longer, like the 32-year-old, okay, is there like is Zach LaVine taking, and the guys taking guys to the finals as well too. We've had kind of a different cycle that maybe Booker, again maybe not multiple finals, but Booker, if he gets traded to the next team, maybe a little underrated. So maybe, and again the contracts, I get it, but if we're just talking the player, at some point there's gonna be guys where you're gonna be like, okay, we'll overlook the contract in the team scenario. The alignment will be there. So it's trying to find, I guess, what that would be. But Booker would be one of those guys that if there was a market for him, I guess if you were making a decision of like, okay, do we as a team trying to take that last step, maybe like San Antonio could be at a point over to the title, could Booker get us there? And I mean, I don't think it would be a hot take for us to obviously sit here and say, yeah, Booker, trade him to a team, he could still be impactful in taking them to the finals. But also, because maybe him as a number one guy is projected in that type of way, I don't know if he gets traded to a team and it's like immediately he expects to be that. So it would be, if he gets traded to a guy where it's obviously like, Tatum, I don't know if, the Brown trade, Brown for Booker would be what would happen. But, or, I would say Wemby, but it's not like Wemby has proven himself more than Booker at this point. It would just be with what we would project or where we would expect a guy like Wemby to be in a couple of years. So, it's like, okay, are we now talking about trading Booker for Steph Castle and Dylan Harper, stuff like that? But I'm not saying that type of stuff. But, just if there's add him to whatever the core is version of that, then that's obviously the type of guy. Maybe Halliburton gets into this role in a couple of years where I don't know what would happen, post-injury with some playoff runs where they would maybe don't go all the way in the same type of way. And it's like, oh, well, don't forget about the time that he literally took them to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago and they made that crazy finals run and what he could be as well, too. I guess we're just like hoping that one day maybe Tyrese Halliburton could get back on the trade market. He's been surprise traded one time, so I don't know. Surprise traded again. And again, it's different than a guy being a number, like, okay, Jalen Williams, can he also be a number 2 somewhere else or be a number 1 somewhere else? But the guy kind of taking a step back. So maybe the conference finals type role would be the new way to look at it instead of going to the finals. Maybe a guy like Anthony Edwards. Whoa, hot take. It's like, he's been to the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago. And I mean, obviously, we still have Edwards stock as a main guy. But maybe Edwards, and I guess, again, you never know. But I don't know what the conversations around Clyde were. I don't know if Clyde ever had that type of Anthony Edwards type hype. I think maybe the Blazers liked him enough to not draft MJ. And again, he was still a really successful guy. But maybe he would have been more like, maybe Booker is kind of the comp. Or Dame. Like if Dame had been in a couple of finals and then gone to, and it actually, had worked out in Milwaukee this past season. So, I guess again, Clay was a number 2 guy on a title team. I was gonna say, maybe Davis is this type of guy now. Whereas Cooper Flagg, the best guy on a title team, and now Davis is the new number 2. Because I guess you could say, of course, LeBron was the Finals MVP there, but that was a close sort of 1A, 1B situation. Hakeem flying in with the chase down swat on Penny Hardaway. Or was that Robert Horry? Hey, yo, looking like Hakeem? I'm watching Kazam. We're on the final scenes of Kazam here, so, which one are we going to be paying attention to? It was Horry, chat. Hey, yo. It is what it is. I just saw armbands, wristbands swooping in, and somebody flying in for the block. It's like, oh, it's got to be Olajuwon. But shout out Horry. Crazy chase downs. Like we're saying, his defense has been, add that to the mental notes for Robert Horry as a player. Great two-way player as well, too. So, Penny Hardaway going toe for toe. I mean, you see when the Rockets, even though they're able to make that push, the veteran team, they don't have the championship experience necessarily at this point, but again, they are the veteran team. Olajuwon is the veteran player. But the Magic at home, like, they're still not letting this game get out of hand just yet. We'll get to the free throws and the stuff here in a second, and I guess overtime and how it affects all that as well, too. But the great crowd energy, like Hardaway, is very clutch here. So, I mean, I'm definitely down to be, more pro Penny Hardaway than, so again, Hardaway is one of those guys. A lot of people are like pro Penny Hardaway. I don't think anybody's out here like, do we need to like rethink how we're, what Penny Hardaway's career was in the NBA? But also if there is that extra level. But I feel like if we were genuinely like ranking, again, the best versions of players, like the best version of Penny Hardaway is going to be ranked pretty highly. Again, I think in just the basketball community in general. He may be up there with just the most consensus-liked players in NBA history, to be honest. I don't know if that's, because again, a guy like Shaq, a guy like LeBron, MJ, hot take, he's pretty up there. I think MJ's got to be the most beloved, right? Like, if we're really being honest, like, even, I guess now because of the LeBron stuff, and the Kobe stuff, I guess, as well, too, but I feel like there's a sort of respect between the Kobe and MJ people, maybe. But now because there's like is LeBron the best player of all time push as well, and the fan bases can really get going at each other in that way, I guess he's decisive because of that in an NBA sense. But really, if we're being honest, like, MJ's the most beloved in the way he was as a superstar in the league. Like, he's the number one guy. Just again, even if we're going, kind of off where, Penny Hardaway is maybe not a top 10 guy in NBA history, but going to be higher up on this list. Like, MJ's still number one player, number one, probably most popular guy. I mean, I guess, Steph and LeBron, we could be arguing. Like, Steph might be over LeBron. I think LeBron has I was to say LeBron has outplayed all his haters, but I don't know if that's true. I think Steph might be over LeBron in terms of the unanimous. I mean, Steph got the unanimous MVP, so he might have to be number two. I mean, even Shaq had a guy, voting for Iverson. Iverson had one guy just so captivated back in the day. Even Steph was able to silence all those guys in his time. Shout out Shaq. We're not trying to make that an anti-Shaq. Shaq couldn't convince the last Iverson voter. But even still, because of his free throw stuff and just, I think maybe the commitment to some of the off the court stuff and the way there is a little bit of maybe a segment of, but everybody likes Shaq as well too. So that's what we're saying. This duo is up there, and he is up there for the most, I think, just popular / beloved NBA players in history and dominated. So it's not like there's how many times did Shaq like let people down as well too kind of factor that goes into it, that you don't want to say like, oh, guys letting teams down. But, the more times you win the finals and just don't have that disappointment, it's gonna just take away those negative memories from the NBA fans and the fans of your own team as well too. Mario Elie off the dribble. So the off the dribble attack the basket game, the slash and kick game is a really fun, like, kind of modern, and a little bit with what we got in the last finals, but a really fun kind of variation where, again, we got at least a couple of guys with some really good three-point shooting games here tonight. So you still get that 20-25-ish feel. I guess the analytics-y type feel of basketball, where it's like, okay, there's still, because that is a little bit of something that you can kind of go back and watch where you're not like, oh, silly guys not taking three-pointers. But it is a little like, oh, missed opportunities, and you could just be like, just take a step back and or a step to the side in this situation, or, look at this guy in the corner off of this pass. Like, that's actually a shot, not just a guy, like, whatever. But you do get okay, these guys gotta have the analytics stuff figured out feel to the game, but also not just guys jacking up threes as well, too. Like, the guys are slashing, kicking, creating, and getting into the paint off the dribble, and it's a good variety of that scoring. And, like we're saying, you mix in the post play as well, too. Like, is there a case that this is one of the best? And I guess, that's where we're going back and actually watching the MJ series. Like, there's going to be a series where, like, that MJ versus Barkley series would be a good one to go back and rewatch, because those are good. Like, that Suns team is a fun team. again, that's good version of the Bulls after a couple of seasons in the finals with Pippen's emerging, like kind of fully formed as well too. So that might be like a up there for quality of play. I mean, Warriors versus Cavs, of course, is up there for quality of play as well too. And San Antonio versus Miami, I think unfortunately for us, we're not the series that we would remember, of course, is a little less competitive, even though the Spurs were an amazing performance in that series. But the actual quality of play series is, of course, the one that the Spurs didn't actually end up winning. But that is up there for just best quality. I mean, it's just not even just the intenseness of the competitiveness of the series, because that also goes into it as well. And Steve Javy not in the booth, chat. Hey, yo, we got him actually reffing the game. Shout out. But is Joey Crawford out here as well too? Who's ready? We got Donaghy, Crawford, and just Steve Javy, just an all-time reffing crew. I don't know if that's what the case is, but yeah, this is up there for just good, just the aesthetic style of play basketball that you're getting, because it's a good crossover of all of those things. Because the Bulls series, I guess, wouldn't necessarily have the post play in the same type of way, where they had really skilled centers and big men for sure. I mean, Luke Longley and Tony Kukoc were definitely, and Tony Kukoc as well too, like, was a really skilled guy. I mean, Rodman was, front court player, power forward guy, very skilled defender, creator, screener, runaround guy, for sure. But just not the same post him up one-on-one, let him dominate type of thing. And yeah, the series would have the most versatile. I guess the Celtics Lakers series would probably be up there as well too. I mean, of course, and you get the post play, but I don't know if you quite get the perimeter thing fully quite yet. Like, that's still a little old school 2-point focus type stuff, where you definitely have Bird and you have clutch moments going down to 3-pointers, and again, guys that can step out at times when they need to, but not necessarily. I don't know if you get like a heat check type performance the same type of way you would get in a 90s finals, or guys gravitating in that type of way. Because again, even in the MJ series, you get, of course, iconic moments going down. Like, the teams maybe not are using it again in full sort of moments of style. Like, this is not the reliance of their offense is generating threes from every team in the league, but they still are going to it in big moments in clutch. And they still are. It's obviously integrated and focused on, and part of the offense. The Bulls, with Paxton and with Steve Kerr, have all kinds of plays where, multiple iconic moments where it's, and again, maybe some of the Paxton Kerr stuff was like more long too, so maybe it was not actually 3-pointers. But again, what the focus, and that goes to the, okay, just take the step back, figuring out the analytics part of it and locking it all in. But that is but again, they were still able to mix it in as part of the offense, and it was still being thought about, even though it wasn't fully pushed in the right type of way. Because again, the 2000s, it's just and shout out to the Spurs as well too. We're definitely gonna defend that era, and it's underrated as well too for the superstars, like we were saying, just thinking back of the names. But it's just a funky, not really. It's difficult to sort of define the style of the league in that same type of way, and almost the physicality and the ugliness of the league. Again, the 90s, there's still as much as you would say the Bad Boys Pistons, almost the vibe of that bleeds into the 90s, the way the conversation is. There is a balance between the gracefulness and the physicality of the stuff going on, where in the 2000s it's just like really all just gets muddied up and slowed down, and the Spurs are able to benefit from that. And I'm not saying that, again, the competitiveness of it and the legitness of it doesn't matter, but the aesthetic of it and the rewatchability and the style of play, I mean, this is just a better version of basketball. This is just a better series, a better watching series than a couple of the series. The Spurs definitely had good ones for sure. I mean, some of it again has to do with their Eastern Conference opponent specifically. Again, not to call out their opponents, but by the time they got to the finals, a lot of their main challenge was going through the Western Conference, and then they had good finals. I mean, the Pistons played them competitively in 04, 05 for sure. I mean, that's a great team in NBA history. Don't make no mistake. But the Nets were not really going to get a series win over them, and the Knicks as well too. A little bit of an underdog team. but we're definitely like, grit and grind type teams versus more offense, fun, aesthetic. You got Penny Hardaway and Shaq and Hakeem and the guys that can have that type of fun watch vibe as well too. Though, Kid can provide that spacing, but just, didn't quite have the athletic scores around him outside of Vince Carter for a little bit there. But we'd have to go back and really lock in on the Vince Carter, Jason Kidd highlights as well too. But that'd be a fun team to go back and revisit. That would be a fun series to go. Shocker, chat. We would love to go back and rewatch Spurs versus Nets in the NBA Finals. That'd be great. Hakeem with the little hook shot right there. They showed a stat earlier of, Shaq in the second half has really turned up Houston in general. Again, the role guys in the three-point shooting have been what has powered them in the game. But Hakeem was at the point in the game they showed at the stats like 9 for 20 after whatever his efficient performance in the first half was, and had only 3 rebounds again on the game. So hadn't had a rebound in the second half. So Shaq really did do a great job in the second half on Hakeem. It was those role guys and again the clutch performers around him as well too that were able to help him. Not again to discredit Hakeem. We're attacking this as a pro Hakeem angle, but to say that at least for the storylines of this specific game, of course, this is a game that is really credited to those supporting players in the second half, bringing them back. And Shaq, once again, just dips into the right to the basket, a little hook shot, doesn't get it to go, but is bringing the entire focus right around there, already getting the ball that deep in, and they're able to get the offensive rebounds. So Dennis Scott, again, I think a little underrated in terms of because he plays out on the perimeter a lot, but you get Horace Grant in there too. And I guess our guy Brian Shaw, speaking of Kenny Smith, he's a little box out on Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith allowed Brian Shaw to get in position for the offensive rebound, But Horace Grant is his energy and his front court-ness, if that makes sense as a player, but more of a power forward. Then you've got Drexler out there, and Ori, while he's good defensively, they've needed him on the perimeter as well too. So that's where Grant crashing the glass has been big in helping them as well too. Wait, can we go back to that game and see what his rebounds were, or if they were more, some timely rebounds in there as well? Here, we'll open this in a new tab real quick so we don't have to keep going back and forth. We can just have it open separately. But he was at 16. Hey, and Nick Anderson as well, too. 11 rebounds. So Shaq at 16. So 57 rebounds in this game total for the Magic. But a lot of it really just between those two guys. To 41 for the Rockets. So, yeah, that was a major piece of it in the return. A lot of those second chance points. I don't know if they have that number here listed on the box score. But, and Hakeem with the travel, the footwork. Going too crazy, Chad. But, I don't. That would have been a major piece of their scoring offense here. So, off the spin, just the physicality, Shaq not giving up any ground. Hakeem kind of losing his balance and stumbling. 50 seconds left in the game. We got Brian Shaw initiating the offense. Shaq, the double to Anderson, the swing to Hardaway. He's got Drexler on him. It's a drive middle. Another rebound by Horace Grant. That means Hardaway missed the shot, but Grant with the rebound. So now they can continue to work clock. They're up by 3 in this scenario. 25 seconds left. Brian Shaw for 3. Oh, man, if he makes that, they're up 6 with 20 seconds left. Is that a little rush shot from Brian Shaw? Another offensive rebound from the Magic. Hey, yo. It continues once again. 10.5, and chat. There's the foul. The free throws are on their way. So this is, and this is the stuff as well, too. The game building into the energy in this moment where you feel like, you won this game. It's not just a point scored, scenario. It's the domination, like we're saying, on the boards, the fact that the offense is stalled out like this, and it feels like, oh, you got just enough stops to, oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, we got the free throws. We're good to go. We got the buckets. We don't even need to make the field goal here. But there's the first, oh, chat, Magic fans, look away. Anderson in this game, we weren't even looking at the points, 22 points. I mean, he was awesome on not just the rebounds, but the putbacks. Oh, Chad, he needed to get a rebound off of this free throw. He did, that's right, I forgot about that. Hey, yo, the double missed free throws. It wasn't, I thought, I was going to say, was it 2 guys? But, oh, Chad, it was Nick Anderson twice. Oh, man. It is what it is. IT, edit out his name every time I say his name. I don't want to make the guy, you know, we're just trying to rewatch a classic game. It is what it is. It happened to be a close game. The free throws happened to be important. It's tough. It's tough, you know. And they had other games to redo it. Like, I think more importantly than just missing the free throws, of course, the way it shifted the series, the momentum of the series. And, again, you know, maybe us, the leading into the series, not just leading into the game and into this moment, like, where the Magic were the underdog in this series. So kind of us, well, I guess, you know, they're playing at home. But I think mentality-wise, you know, perception-wise, well, again, I can't say for certain. But maybe you feel, I just can't believe that you feel like, oh, we lose the series on one game. But that is kind of what happened, and even though you have the whole series as a chance to make up for it, we all know that, of course, it goes back to this one moment. So the ability for them to recover from it, I don't know if that says, if that's the thing that's like, you know, more than just the individual play that was made. And maybe, again, you don't want to focus on, you know, you hate to just focus on that type of stuff as well, too, for a career. Because, and, you know, it is what it is with the rest of the, you know, I guess you have a rest of your career to make up for it as well, too. But, you know, it's just unfortunate that that's the stuff that can be remembered for a career. And like we're saying, on a great game as well, too, one of the most impactful players, just, and they even need to get the bucket. Like, they need to stop. Kenny Smith just hits a 3. I mean, you almost felt like you knew he was going to make that, though, with like, oh, man, the way he's been playing and with just the miss the 2 free throws, with the energy that the Magic were approaching that defensive possession with. But a clutch performance, chat. It is what it is. One way, I guess, you know, one way opposite both ways. But the pump fake on Hardaway as well, too. I mean, I don't know why Hardaway needs to necessarily go for a pump fake there. You know, he's got a little pause, a little length on Kenny Smith. He could definitely stay on the ground, I think, and still contest as well, too. But Kenny Smith with the sidestep, creating as well, too. Not even really using a screen there. I guess he sidestepped away from the screen if we go back to that replay. But so that would have been his first made 3 since that third quarter as well, too. But Ori 4 for 10. And then Ellie 1 for 2 from 3, but 7 for 11 from the field. So him and Kenny Smith both over 60% from the field for the game. And then Ori was 7 for 18. So Drexler 7 for 19. And then Hakeem ended up right there at around 50% for the game as well, too. And they do get one last look. So even a second and a half left, you know, you could have gotten something off there at pause, you know, as well. It wouldn't have been necessarily impossible. And it is, of course, close in overtime. Does it go down to free throws again in overtime? I don't think we get as dramatic a scenario, because I think the double missed free throws is just that one. It's not a triple missed free throw situation, is it? I don't remember. Is it somebody else? Somebody else take the blame as well, too. Hey, yo. But what was Hardaway's final stat line in this game? 11 for 25, 26 points. Shaq 10 for 16. Nick Anderson 9 for 18. So honestly, again, one of the best performances. I know Penny Hardaway as well, too. Like we're saying with the playmaking early, 5 assists, but Anderson got the 5 assists, got more rebounds. So really his second half, you know, really put him in the mix outside of that moment for more impactful guy in the game. But double right to Shaq. Oh, it spins out. This time, Grant is not really in position. He has to chase the rebound down and almost ends up getting to it as well, too. I mean, he's menacing. Does he get the foul call there? Hey, yo. Horace Grant. Speaking of guys moving up our list. I mean, this is a good intersection of, guys that obviously impacted other franchises as well too, kind of meeting up together here with Ori and with Horace Grant on the Bulls, or with the Lakers and the Spurs, and I guess with this Rockets team itself, and I guess Shaq technically with the Lakers. So it's a good team of former or upcoming Lakers players, I guess. But Nick Anderson, would he have been an interesting Laker? What would have Lakers fans have thought of bringing him in at some point? Dennis Scott could have been a Laker, though. You could have had Dennis Scott or even Penny Hardaway at some point in his career. So Nick Anderson taking threes at the top of the key. Horace Grant, another rebound. So he might be the best player in this game, honestly. What was his points scored? 15 and 16. I guess all of those probably on offensive rebounds, though. The work, again, speaking of guys doing work for their points, pause. Robert Horry definitely right up there. So Kenny Smith, they left him open, or was that Ellie? Well, they left one of the guys open from three and got away with it there. But this time the Rockets get the offensive rebound. So you see the movement, the slash and kick, back out, another three. And Ori gets the make. Was that his first make of the game? His second make? How many did he have for three in this? Oh, that's right. He was 4 for 10. It was Drexler that was 1 for 6 in this game. Shout out Drexler. I think he had the good performances, though. Later on in the series, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. So, free throw merchant. Drexler, early free throw merchant. Here, let's see. I guess we meant to look that up earlier as well, too, because this is his finals win in there. Let's see what we have for this series. Was it? Oh, that's versus Houston when they played in 87. 25, 32, 26, 13. Oh, best 3 out of 5. Lost 3-1. But in the finals versus the Magic, oh, we went past it, 95. He was 23, 25, and 15. So 7 for 10 in game 2, 9 for 18 in game 3. Yeah, definitely, more efficient in the middle of the series. And did continue to get to the free throw line. 8, 12, 10, and 8 attempts. So yeah, Clyde Drexler, 13, 12, 14. A little bit of a free throw merchant, actually, chat. What was he for his career here? We're looking at 6, 7 a game, possibly? Okay, 5.5, I guess, for his career. But that kind of balances out some of the lower moments. Oh, who's that? Oh, there's Ori again for 3. So he gets a couple in overtime, I guess. He would have had like 1 or 2 going into the period. But for Drexler, peak of his powers, free throw attempts, I guess 5 at 85, 86. But he had a couple of seasons with 7, 6, 7. So like a half a decade stretch where he's like 7 a game, almost. 6.5. Okay, we'll take it at 6.5. Pause. Hey, yo, pause. Whoa, that's wild. My bad, chat. IT, cut that out. But yeah, at 6.5 free throw attempts a game in the 90s. That's definitely 11 a game in 2025. Oh, Dennis Scott, the sidestep missed 3. Orlando down 3. Trying to go for the tie a little bit too much too soon. Up still 2.5 minutes left. Hakeem on the fadeaway. This time Horace Grant with the defense as well. Getting that baseline fadeaway. Staying in front. Forcing a tough shot. Another Dennis Scott 3. So they kind of go into the, jacking up 3 points mode. They get away from Shaq in the post. That would have been a great slow it down, get it to Shaq. Even though, there's 2.5 minutes left, you can still take a calm possession there. Get it to 1, get a stop, and then you're setting yourself up for something on the other end. Pause. So they're in transition on this next one. Hardaway with the dunk. So a quick score like that's going to make up for it, and you get the potential and one opportunity. No foul. No foul called. So the refs, Steve Jabby's got money on Houston. He lets Houston stay up by 1. Timeout. Rudy Tomjanovich with 1:39 left, but Hardaway getting down the other end, pause, is athletically still impacting here at the end. So who is the Magic's coach, chat? AO. We have to ask, what was his name back in the day? Brian Hill. What does Brian Hill got cooking up in the huddle? I don't know, was there an assistant? That was like, this was actually the guy. But Brian Hill was, good. Maybe that would have been with the core keeping around, would that have been one of the things that, I guess we have to go for the 30 for 30. Did he end up getting changed over at some point before they moved on from Shaq? But maybe there's like a Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson type situation that happens where they get the next up and coming young coach, and it's like, ooh, then they pair him with Shaq and Penny, and it would have been great. Ooh, Hakeem again. It's just so pure, Chad. It's so quick. It's like a quick draw artist with his footwork. Just gets right into his spins. I mean, you can't call him Kyrie with the handle, but the way that the quickness in which they attack the spin moves and stuff like that, it's not too far off. I mean, if Kyrie was a 7-footer, would he be Hakeem? Hey, yo, is that the hot take of the night? Oh, and then just the massive rejection. One of those just right in the offensive players, doesn't even leave the hand, just completely stuffed on one end. So the double team, Shaq, and they got Horace Grant just on him initially. And then Shaq kind of playing free safety around the basket. They need Shaq to oh, there we go. There's that free safety. He gets Clyde on the swap, but then the turnover on the pass. Robert Horry with the steal. Oh, man, another, of course, clutch moment gone wrong for Orlando at the end of this game. Once again, showing their youth. And, I mean, Indiana also, that's another thing. OKC, they get the benefit of not having to play a team, with some sort of experience, I guess, in the finals, even though they did have to match up against that in the playoffs themselves. Denver was a legit opponent, took them to 7 for sure. But their ability to not necessarily have those moments of showing that youth as well too. Like both teams felt very locked in the entire time. I mean, again, the Pacers definitely got outplayed for stretches by the Thunder, but it felt like the Thunder just went to an extra level in those moments and just really showed the eliteness of what that team could be. It never felt like a team had a moment of, oh, we're really witnessing these teams, have that young team. Again, it was really quality of play stuff through a lot of it. It wasn't quite the teams falling apart at the end. Like we definitely saw that against them, especially against the Pacers in the playoff series, like them benefiting from that for sure. But then those two teams actually doing it themselves. I think, the Thunder did have one game in there where the Pacers really, they didn't play super well. And then did the Pacers did have maybe one collapse game in there. So maybe that would be the one to go back and look and be like, yeah, maybe they're able to lock in. I don't know, the next year, who knows what happens. But this is probably the ultimate, this team just had a young team moment. But, again, when it just goes down to a couple of those plays, it's not even just a young team versus a team just didn't quite have the clutch moments that they needed at the end of the game. So even still, down 3, 8.6 left, and the Magic do get the inbound. So even still, they get a potential to set themselves up for the last shot, and they're not going to inbound it to Nick Anderson, that's for sure. They're going to get it to Penny. The timeout. The Rockets defense does not allow an inbound. Brutal, chat. The great stop by Kenny Smith, denying the ball. Even impacting the game from a two-way standpoint. We doubted his defense. It's Mario Ellie again, chat. Hey, but it's both those guys right there. But it's Ellie off of the inbounder, doubling Hardaway, and not letting him receive the entry pass, forcing the timeout in the reset here with 8.6. So they're going to run basically the same thing again for Hardaway, but this time, to Shaq, and they get it right back to Scott for the made 3. Oh, Chad, he tied it up at 118. Wow. So, I mean, I don't even know if we can, what do we even say about the Knicks? I guess at the end of the day, if he makes those, they win. It's not even if he makes those, they might win scenario, which I guess you could say if Kenny Smith goes down, hits a 3, they play a 3-point game, maybe there's a chance they can play that free throw game enough with 10 seconds left to get that win in 1995. But, I mean, tying it up with 8 seconds left in overtime, that part kind of gets left out of the Nick Anderson dialogue of it. The Magic were right there. Hey, there's another moment. Nick Anderson, somebody else to blame. So I don't know. He probably steps in one more time and just confirms himself the MVP of this game. But they still had a chance here to get a stop and even force a second overtime, or because they don't even need to force free throws at this point to get the ball back, right? I don't know if that is that where Brian Hill, all of a sudden his genius comes into play. Well, he's like, well, now we can foul and get the ball back for the last shot. And it's like, well, coach is tied. If we just get a stop, we go to a second overtime. Or they get a last-second foul call. This is Steve Javie at the end. Hey, remember me? Steve Javie from the Bronx. And just, gets the Magic down in the Trey Station pause and just ends them and lets the Rockets win game 1. But 5, I think, down to 5 after the play. Seconds left in the game. Still clearly enough time for the Rockets to do damage and get a quality look. But enough time for, 5.5. Game tied. Orlando should have, obviously should have gotten a stop. And I don't think they have time to get a, well, I guess if we're giving the Magic, or the Rockets quality time, or saying it's quality time for the Rockets, then the Magic still probably have a chance to get a shot off if they get a stop. But it's more, they have a chance to force a second overtime and then go to a period where if they're in a second overtime, maybe they get some of that momentum back as well, too. Having kind of survived, like, oh, we didn't lose after those missed free throws. And then, 2 periods away from the missed free throws, maybe the legacy of that. I don't know, does a second overtime wash that away? Probably not. But still, maybe it softens it, pause, a little bit. But Ori on the inbound, of course, to Clyde. Swooping in. Oh, a layup attempt, not able to get it to go, but it's just Hakeem. The rebounding had been the thing all night for the Magic that had got him back in the game. But Hakeem just, nobody covers him, nobody boxes out. Shaq helps on the Clyde drive. And he swoops in and gets a great look, and again, just his attack, shifting the defense, allows Hakeem to be open for that rebound in a sense as well, too. But no body on Hakeem. Where's Horace Grant? Can we get a replay on that? 0.3. Again, literally the minimum for getting a shot off. But yeah, Shaq has to step up, I guess, and play the defense. So it really is just Hakeem battling off Horace Grant at the key point in the night. He's got Brian Shaw boxed out on him. And then Nick Anderson. Oh, it's Nick Anderson once again. Oh, chat. Nick Anderson just slides right by Hakeem. He could have got the box out. I don't know. From that angle, it looks like he missed him on the box out. But either way, there's a good chance that Hakeem kind of gets up over him anyways. Yeah, I don't know if he's just unaware, just at the angle. Obviously he is. Because Brian Shaw, is just definitely not going to box him out. But at least he has a chance. So yeah, Nick Anderson on Ori on the perimeter. I guess that's kind of confusing as well, too. Maybe you go Nick Anderson. I don't know if they switched. But maybe you go Nick Anderson on Ori and then, Grant on Hakeem like it's been all night. But regardless, you get the offensive rebound, you get the final shot, and you get the 120 to 118 lead. And with 0.3 seconds left, they are going to get the win as well, too, Chad. And of course, Hakeem goes on to win his first title, the first of 2. And both these guys, legendary players, like we said, in NBA history. But that is, of course, another night in the time machine. Oh, shout out to the pod people, chat. Just realized we ran out of memory. So hey, a little YouTube exclusive here at the end of the episode. It is what it is. So yeah, you can subscribe here for more. We will be back live streaming, of course, all week. We will be here on the YouTube. We will be putting up the live streams, whatever version of it. Maybe it's not the full version if we run out of memory again, but whatever version of the live stream we have on the computer, we'll put up on the podcast feed, so it'll be available on Spotify and Apple and all those different platforms as well. And if you guys want to send us a message, you can hit us up at RemingtonM on Instagram and slide in the DMs over there and say what's up. Otherwise, yeah, subscribe, stay tuned, lock in, and we'll be back later this week live streaming some more fun stuff, chat. So stay tuned. I don't know, sports, music, movies, who knows what's on the slate for later this week, but it's going to be a fun time. either way. So you're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to stay tuned. And we thank you guys, of course, for jumping on